Chapter 1127. Pu Deshuang trembled with anger. Hui Yunfeng, you're lying. You bastard! How dare you! Hui Yunfeng stood up angrily. Pu Deshuang, are you my boss? How dare you put on airs in front of me? Do you have that? You have brothers, but I don't. What do I lack in you? I don't owe you anything, so why are you shouting? Who's humiliating the Sacred Heart Palace now? And you too, what does it have to do with me and Pu Deshuang? What's the relationship between you two? What do you want? Do you want to bully me with numbers? Hui Yunfeng cursed Pu Deshuang and the other two, making them so angry that they felt as if their internal organs were on fire. The other two stood up. You're not qualified to speak if you don't bet, right? Then I'll bet with you. I'll bet 500 on the 7 Stars sect. The odds are the same. Hui Yunfeng, do you dare to take it? Me too. I'll bet 500 too. The 7 Stars sect wins. Hui Yunfeng, do you dare to take it? Can you? Hui Yunfeng trembled all over and said fiercely, you're all determined to defeat me today. What are you guys trying to do? The three sneered and said nothing. Hui Yunfeng said angrily, you didn't swear to the heavenly Tao, so why should I take it? So what if I don't? The other two were so angry that they immediately swore. I swear to the heavenly Tao that I'll bet with Hui Yunfeng. May the heavens be my witness. 2 thunderous booms rang out. The oath was made. The oath has been made. Hui Yunfeng, just wait to lose your fortune. Then, we'll see how you die. Prepare to sell your butt to fill the hole. Hui Yunfeng was stunned for a while. Fine. Isn't that enough? I'll take it. I'll take 500 pieces of supreme-grade spiritual jade from each of you. Even if I have to go bankrupt and sell my ass, I'll let you 3 old things see that I, Hui Yunfeng, am a man of indomitable spirit. Pu Deshuang laughed strangely. You're about to sell your ass, yet you still call yourself a man. Your definition of a man is really different. Hui Yunfeng sneered and said, whether I'm a man or not will be judged by the public later. But you'd better think it through. If you want to win 500 top-grade spiritual jades from me each, you have to risk 3,000 top-grade spiritual jades. In other words, if you lose, you have to pay me 3,000 top-grade spiritual jades. The faces of the other two were as cold as ice. You don't have to worry about how much we win or lose. All you need to know is that if we lose, we won't forget your spirit jades. Other than that, don't yell like a mad dog here. Hui Yunfeng flicked his sleeves and rose to his feet. Good. Just you wait. Just you wait. Before he could finish his words, he stormed off angrily. Pu Deshuang's eyes were full of ridicule as he looked at Hui Yunfeng's figure. Brother Hua, even if you go and give residents of 9 Supreme some advice on how to deal with it now, can your real strength improve anything? When Hui Yunfeng heard this, he did not leave. He stood still, turned around, and walked back. Pu Deshuang, you're really something. How can you have all kinds of dirty thoughts? Since you've said so, I won't leave. I can't give you any excuse. I'll stay here and watch the duel between the 2 sects come to an end. Pu Deshuang, I didn't know that you were such a vile person before. Today, I've really broadened my horizons. Duan Tianchong stood aside in a daze for a long time, unable to figure out why these people were fighting. It was not until he had walked for a long time that he heard Pu Deshuang announce, 7 Stars sect proposes a truce for today and another fight tomorrow. On residents of 9 Supreme side, Yun Yang's face was as calm as ever. He just turned to look at 7 Stars sect and said in a loud voice, we want a copy of 7 Stars sect's information. I wonder if that's possible. On the stage, Pu Deshuang looked at Hui Yunfeng, who had a gloomy face, and said, Sure, come and get it. Sure. Wuchen leaped out. At this moment, all the sects in the Third Realm were looking at residents of 9 Supremes with complicated gazes. Phoenix Cry sect, Jiang Luoluo snorted angrily. This 7 Stars sect is really despicable and shameless. How could they come up with such a dirty idea and make Dajiang and others wait for half a day and a night at the entrance? What's the point of doing this? How can they call themselves a middle-class sect with celestial luck banner with such behavior? Gan Tianyan smiled faintly and said leisurely, of course it's interesting. When 2 armies fight, the most important thing is to attack the heart. Residents of 9 Supremes has come with a strong momentum. If the fight starts immediately, the momentum of consecutive victories alone will already increase the fighting strength of our side by 5%. Not to mention that 7 Stars sect knows nothing about residents of 9 Supremes. With this buffer of half a day and a night, 7 Stars sect will not only have ample time to come up with a strategy, but also be able to cool down residents of 9 Supremes' momentum. This is the so-called subduing the enemy without fighting. What's more, if there are weak-willed people in the residents of 9 Supremes, especially those who are young, many of them will feel depressed and restrained. From then on, they will have a negative feeling that the gap between them and those with mid-class celestial luck banners is so huge. If this mentality is not eliminated in time, it will inevitably affect their performance on the spot, and their real strength will decline during the battle. How is that different from hastening their defeat? This is a psychological battle. Even if it were us, we would probably use it too. This is the right of the sect to be challenged, so why not use it when there is such a convenience? How can it not be used to restrain the unknown enemy's strength to the greatest extent? Jiang Luoluo snorted and said, what strategy, tactics, authority, and power? In the end, it's just despicable. If you really have the ability, just fight with real swords and spears. Playing these dirty tricks will only make people look down on you. Gan Tianyan smiled. In order to win, martial artists are willing to do anything. Winning is everything. There was a hint of meaning in his voice. Jiang Luoluo could not sit still anymore. I'm going to find Dajiang. Before her voice had died away, she had already left in a hurry. Gan Tianyan smiled, her face full of kindness. Ping Zhenyue smiled and said, Junior sister, you really put a lot of thought into this. Gan Tianyan smiled and said, it's good that Luoluo reminded him. If residents of 9 Supremes can successfully ascend, it's also a good thing for us. Senior sister, can't you see that Luoluo has already made up her mind? How many times have we separated them all these years? How many times have we attacked them, but it's still useless. Now that Luo Dajiang has this opportunity, he can be considered a child with some luck. Why should we be vile and stop him? If some tragedy happens, it's not something we want to see. Ping Zhenyue's eyes flickered, as if she had thought of something. She sighed and said, we'll do as you say, junior sister. Yunyang only said a few words in response to the suggestion of delaying the competition by 1 day. By doing this, the 7 Stars sect deliberately let us wait under the watchful eyes of the public. They have 2 intentions. First, they're afraid of us. Second, they're using the opportunity to humiliate us to wear down our willpower and reduce our strength. What should we do in the face of unknown fear and realistic humiliation? Chapter 11:28. Hearing Yun Yang's words, the disciples, who were still a little anxious, felt their blood boiling again. Their low morale soared, even stronger than when they first arrived. Yun Yang said slowly, we'll wait here. We won't set up tents, we'll stay here and see what these people are going to do. What can they do? We'll bathe in the cold wind, bathe in everyone's gaze, endure the attack of the night fog, accept their humiliation, and return it to them with our fury in the most extreme way tomorrow. Return it to them with our fury in the most extreme way. I'm invincible, only I'm invincible. Jiang Luoluo had come. Seeing that the morale here was not only unaffected but even more intense, he heaved a sigh of relief amidst his surprise. He found Yun Yang and stammered, "My master, and senior uncle's sect leader, said that they're going to visit the residence of 9 Supremes in a few days." Yun Yang was taken aback and said, "This is good news. I'll ask them to prepare, especially Dajiang. Mother-in-law is coming." Jiang Luoluo coughed and said hesitantly, "Leader Supreme, I'm not joking with you. My master and senior uncles are not very satisfied with the disciples that the Phoenix Cry sect has recruited these years, and the residence of 9 Supremes has so many good seedlings." Yun Yang was enlightened and said with a smile, I understand. We can't hog all of them. If your sect likes them, it's not a big deal for us to distribute some of them." Jiang Luoluo stomped her feet. Sigh. "I mean, we can't just let them take advantage of us. With the residence of 9 Supreme's ability and foundation, why should we give them away?" All the brothers were speechless for a while. "What the f***ck? You're not here to be a lobbyist for your family, but you're colluding with outsiders to harm your family?" The so-called extroverted girl was nothing more than this, was it not? Under the strange gazes of the brothers, Jiang Luoluo was a little embarrassed and murmured, "Actually, I don't mean anything else. I'm just thinking, the residence of 9 Supremes is where Dajiang's foundation lies. It's because Dajiang isn't strong that, if my sect becomes stronger, much stronger than all of you, I'm worried that there will be more trouble." Everyone understood at once. So this silly girl was still worried about this. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but at the same time, he was very touched. This girl was foolish enough, and even more foolish enough. Luo Dajiang could not help but pull Jiang Luoluo into his arms and whispered, "Don't worry, Luoluo. No one can separate us from now on." Jiang Luoluo nodded with tears in her eyes. She could not help but sob. "I know, but I'm still worried. If you fall again. Now I know that there is nothing in this world that cannot be settled by profit. Even the love between a man and a woman, no matter how much they love each other, as long as it is not in line with the interests of the people of the world, it is not difficult to separate them." Luo Dajiang hugged her tightly, lest he slip up and lose his love forever. Yun Yang and the others looked on, touched. Shi Wuchen said softly, "Luo Dajiang, when we get back, hurry up and get married to Luo. Not only do you have to give her the title of sister-in-law, but you also have to give her everything she deserves. If you delay any longer, I'm afraid the few of us will beat you up." Luo Dajiang nodded heavily. The next morning, when everyone arrived at their own sect's viewing platform and looked at the entrance, they were all shocked the moment they saw the entrance. All the people of the residence of 9 Supremes were sitting there, meditating with their legs crossed, each of them covered in a layer of dew and frost. They did not pitch their tents. They could have pitched their tents, but they did not. They simply exposed themselves to the wind and dew of the night. A few disciples of the residence of 9 Supremes had already stood up, staring at the 7 Stars sect's grandstand with eyes full of rage and hatred. It was a fierce look that said they would fight to the death. Everyone, including the Phoenix Cry sect and the Daluo sect, felt a chill in their hearts. Such morale, when the disciples of the 7 Stars sect mocked, belittled, and took the opportunity to humiliate their opponents were sitting here, enduring the humiliation. Let this humiliation make the fire in his heart burn more and more fiercely. It was nothing for a skilled cultivator not to sleep for a night, and it would not affect their combat strength. However, the humiliation and experience of this night were enough to be imprinted in the hearts of the 10 disciples of the residence of 9 Supremes for the rest of their lives. Everyone was well aware of what kind of effect this kind of spiritual experience would have on a disciple. It was an experience that could benefit them for the rest of their lives. When 7 Stars sect's Duan Tianchong saw the scene, he felt an inexplicable regret. "Sect leader Yun, let's follow the usual rules for the first match. Since you have come to challenge us, let's have the battle of the best first." It is the most straightforward way. Duan Tianchong said lightly from the grandstand, looking at Yun Yang, who had come up. Yun Yang's expression did not change. It is sect leader Duan's business to make the rules. The residents of 9 Supremes will accept it. How about we have the Battle of the Backbone for the second match? No problem. How about we decide the third match with the Battle of Formations? Duan Tianchong said indifferently. His tone sounded like he was asking for advice, but his expression did not look like he could change his mind. No problem. Duan Tianchong smiled faintly. Lord Deacon, we have racked our brains, but we have only arranged these 3 matches. Oh? Pu Deshuang asked. Duan Tianchong smiled confidently. Our sect thinks that these 3 matches are enough to decide the winner and the loser. We don't want to be ruthless, so we don't need to win all 5 matches. What he meant was that these 3 matches were enough to drive the residents of 9 Supremes back. Pu Deshuang laughed. Sect leader Duan is so bold. Alright, it's settled then. Next to him, Hui Yunfeng rolled his eyes. Ambitious? Stupid is the real deal. Not to mention anything else, you will definitely lose the Battle of Formations. After you lose the Battle of Formations, you will definitely have to arrange a Battle of Disciples to save face, but the residents of 9 Supremes will still win with the help of mystical beasts. Residents of 9 Supremes will win 2 matches, but you. Humph. I'm going to be rich anyway. Yun Yang smiled faintly and said, Sect leader Duan is right. We don't need to win all 5 matches this time either. He rolled his eyes, and 2 cold gleams shot out of his eyes. As long as we can win 3 matches, we'll be content. Duan Tianchong felt a chill in his heart when he was stared at, and then he flew into a rage. Sect leader Yun, we've made up our mind. Please go back and arrange the formation as soon as possible. The earlier we start, the earlier we can finish it. Perhaps, sect leader Yun will have to go back and accept the admiration of all the sects with lower-class celestial luck banners as the chief lower-class disciple. Chapter 1129. Yun Yang said with a grin, of course we should. Before I left, the Golden Cauldron sect repeatedly asked me to end the promotion battle as soon as possible. They are waiting for sect leader Duan to come over. They are still thinking about the low-rank chief disciple that they lost. They hope that they can use your sect to make a comeback. Yun Yang's words were undoubtedly more ruthless. Not only did he say that they would definitely win this battle, but he also implied that the 7 Stars sect would not be able to claim the position of the chief disciple even if they were to fall to the lower class. Instead, they would fall below the Golden Cauldron sect. If that were to be the case, the 7 Stars sect would be so ashamed that they would wish they were dead. Duan Tianchong snorted, then turned around and left. 7 Stars sect versus residents of 9 Supremes, the first match, the Battle of the Pinnacle. Pu Deshuang guffawed and announced the content of the first match. At this moment, he was filled with satisfaction. Not only would he be in a high position, but he would also be able to win a large number of supreme-grade spirit jades, ha ha ha. Today is my lucky day. In the next moment, a handsome middle-aged man appeared out of thin air. His expression was indifferent and his manner was elegant. I'm Wu Yu from 7 Stars sect. I wonder who from the residents of 9 Supremes would like to give me some advice? All the sects in the spectator stands felt their eyes light up. Shadowless Saber, Wu Yu. There is no need to worry about me. A sigh could be heard in the sky. The residents of 9 Supremes is not as rich as the 7 Stars sect. As the sect leader, I can't be lazy like sect leader Duan. I'm the leader of the sect, and I'm also the one who takes part in the battle of the strongest fighting force in the sect. I'm really envious of your sect master Duan. It was Yun Yang's voice. As the voice rang out, a figure in a fluttering purple robe appeared in the sky. It crossed 2,000 feet and landed in front of Wu Yu. Yun Yang's arrival in the arena showcased his outstanding physique. Coupled with his handsome face, he portrayed the unparalleled aura of a young master to the extreme, causing many of the female disciples on the spectator stand to look at him with curious gazes. Suddenly, a woman's voice rang out, "So handsome. Sect leader Yun, do you have a wife now? If you don't have a wife, do you mind looking for one? If you already have a wife, would you mind having another one?" As soon as this voice came out, everyone roared with laughter, and it lasted for a long time. On the other hand, the faces of those from the Zenith Heaven sect darkened. The one who had spoken was none other than a female disciple of the Absolute sect. Looking from afar, this woman was dressed in a red dress, and her figure was quite graceful. Because of the distance, he could not see her appearance clearly. However, her question was extremely bold and explicit. The Daluo sect leader's face turned pale as he scolded in a low voice, "Junior sister, you don't spout nonsense." It turned out that this woman was a middle-level leader of the Daluo sect, someone of considerable status. The woman said carelessly, "Shut up. I asked you to marry me back then, but you refused. Now you want to stop me from marrying someone else?" The head of the Daluo sect, Xiaofan, was speechless. He lowered his head and sat in his seat, speechless. Not only did he feel humiliated to death, but he also felt extremely ashamed. He coughed dryly and said, "Senior, you must be joking. This junior is still working hard to survive. I really have no intention of, as long as you marry me, I'll be your wife, a member of the residence of 9 Supremes. I can go down there and help you cripple this Wu Yu. With my help, defeating the 7 Stars sect will be a piece of cake." Her words were even more explicit than before, but no one present took it as a joke anymore. Was this a joke? No, this was reality. As long as Yun Yang was willing to put aside his pride and agree to the marriage, based on this junior sister Yu's status in the Daluo sect and her ability, it would be a piece of cake to win this pinnacle match. It was not a joke at all. Winning a match out of nowhere would have a huge impact, whether it was for the residents of 9 Supremes or the 7 Stars sect. Many of them mumbled in their hearts, "If I were Yun Yang, maybe I'd agree to it." It said that other than being hot-tempered and aggressive, this fairy Yu is also very beautiful, and her cultivation base is very high. Plus, she has a strong backer and ally like the Daluo sect. What a bargain this is. Hearing this, not only did Yun Yang stagger, even Wu Yu, who was standing opposite him, staggered. He looked up speechlessly and said, "Big sister Yu, why don't I marry you?" The woman scolded, "Pfft. You're dreaming, pretty boy. Look at you, a face that your grandmother doesn't care about and your uncle doesn't love, as if your mother gave birth to you in heaven but you fell face first to the ground. How dare you dream about me? I'm not a person who looks at faces." Wu Yu's pretty face immediately darkened to the point of being unsightly. "I'm also a handsome man. Look at my face, is it really so unbearable? Don't look at my face. What are you looking at if not at my face? Ignore her. Let's fight." Wu Yu was really worried now. If Yun Yang really agreed to it and this woman really went down the stage, he would really be no match for her. For a moment, looking at Yun Yang's face, he could not help but feel a little angry. Is a pretty boy so popular? Today, I'll scratch this pretty boy face of yours. With a swoosh, he unsheathed his saber and said, "Sect leader Yun, the plan has been set. Please make your move." Yun Yang took a deep breath and said, "Please." Before his words echoed in the air, he suddenly flashed and crossed 70 feet in a single step. The divine edge slashed downwards. It was like a mountain pressing down from above, and it chopped down with copious force. Wu Yu obviously did not expect the other party to strike so ruthlessly without any warning. At least, in his plan, both parties should at least greet each other politely and take a step back before the fight began. However, the other party's unreasonable start couldn't be said to have broken the rules. This was because the battle had already begun the moment Pu Deshuang announced the start of the battle. Any subsequent attacks were logical and normal actions. It could only be said that the other party had seized the initiative. That was understandable. Wu Yu instinctively took a step back, the saber in his hand flying up. With a clang, the two sabers collided with each other in a domineering manner. Yun Yang did not hold back at all in this strike. He had used up all the mystical qi in his body, in addition to Emmy's full support. Although the strike did not have any style to speak of, it was already a counterattack that had no style to speak of. The strike that was originally meant to test the opponent's strength was now overflowing with an untraceable sense of transcendence. Clang! When the two sabers collided, both of their bodies shook violently. Wu Yu could not help but lean back, using the momentum to retreat 3 steps. Yun Yang, on the other hand, bounced up abruptly and flew hundreds of feet into the air. He suddenly spat out a mouthful of murky qi that was tinged with the color of blood. Yun Yang's expression was unprecedentedly solemn. From the clash of the sabers, he had confirmed the other party's true cultivation base, the pinnacle of a third-level Saint King. An absolutely formidable foe. Genius in a second, remember this site's address. Mobile version. Chapter 1130. Wu Yu's cultivation base was actually on par with the Golden Cauldron sect's great elder, Chu Xiaofan. Yun Yang did not look like he was at a disadvantage in this confrontation, but he knew himself best. If it was not for his sneak attack and Emmy's support, he would never be this fellow's opponent in a pure clash of mystical qi. Yun Yang quickly came up with a countermeasure as he spun in the air. His saber light glowed brighter as it came crashing down. It was Saber Truth, Destiny's first form, merciless blade. As the saber slashed down, heaven and earth seemed to be split apart. Above the saber was heaven and below it was earth. The saber had split heaven and earth. Compared to Yun Yang, who felt that his opponent's cultivation base was more profound than his, Wu Yu's heart was bleeding as he retreated. His mind and the spiritual saber that had accompanied him for half his life were already in sync. However, after the clash of the sabers, he could clearly feel that his treasured saber that had gone through countless battles had an additional chip on it. The treasured saber in his hand even exuded a very human-like fear of the opponent's mystical weapon. Seeing Yun Yang descend from the sky and execute a marvelous technique, he dared not be the least bit negligent. His other body shook and split into 3 silhouettes that hovered close to the ground. The saber light intensified and gathered into an ever-growing pagoda that rose like a whirlwind. It was obvious that he had made up his mind not to fight recklessly but to use pure mystical qi as his main force in this battle. If he were to continue fighting recklessly, his saber would probably be crippled. Although the 5th heaven possessed the miraculous ability to recover human or mystical beasts' lives, it could not do anything to a damaged mystical weapon. If a weapon was destroyed, it was truly destroyed, it could only be repaired or recast afterward. The reason why Wu Yu had chosen such a battle method that consumed a lot of mystical qi was because he could sense that his opponent's mystical qi cultivation base was not as good as his. Furthermore, it was at least a level lower. Of course, he had to make use of his advantage in mystical qi to its fullest extent, but he could not use it in the extreme clash of their weapons. It went without saying what he should do: choose one option. In this world, Yun Yang's saber light came crashing down. Ding ding ding, the 2 swords clashed against each other in an almost continuous manner. Both of them moved away as soon as they touched each other. Although the collisions were frequent, Wu Yu's sword did not suffer any damage. Seeing that his strategy was working, Wu Yu, who was rejoicing that he did not have to worry too much about his treasured saber being damaged and affecting the battle, suddenly sensed that his opponent's saber was moving. After the series of light collisions, a dense net of blades had formed, enveloping and compressing the space he was in, causing the space he could move in and even the air around him to become viscous. What kind of saber technique was this? How could it cause such a change? Wu Yu was inexplicably shocked by the sudden change in the situation before him. Although the current situation was not to the point where he could not deal with it, in fact, it was still relatively minor. However, this was only the first strike of his opponent. The chances of him pinning his hopes on this one strike and not following it up were too slim. He had to adapt to the situation as quickly as possible. That was the only way to ensure his safety. However, with a long howl from Wu Yu, the treasured saber that was initially wrapped tightly in thick mystical qi suddenly shone brightly. It shone brilliantly in a dazzling manner, instantly cutting all of Yun Yang's weaved saber wind into halves. It had to be said that Wu Yu's technique was cleanly broken. It could be said that it was the simplest and most straightforward way that Wu Yu had broken Destiny's first form, Merciless Blade, since his debut. However, it was as Wu Yu had expected. Yun Yang did not only have a single trick up his sleeve, but the second strike that followed was right on time. Merciless Dao. Then, the extremely uncomfortable and sticky feeling that had just disappeared returned once more. Wu Yu snorted inwardly. Gathering his mystical qi again, he channeled all of the 7 stars sect's mystical skills. Whether it was his movement or saber technique, he had unleashed them to their limits. He even reserved his left hand, secretly accumulating strength and hanging it by his side in case of emergencies. Although the saber light had fallen, Yun Yang's body was still hovering in midair. His purple robes fluttered in the wind, almost dyeing the entire sky purple. After battling Chu Xiaofan, Yun Yang had once again used the first form of Destiny Blade's first form. His understanding of the Destiny Blade was completely different from before. It was a feeling of being completely at his fingertips, as if he was controlling his own arm. Although Wu Yu's cultivation base was extremely high and his saber technique was exquisite, he was still full of openings when faced with the onslaught of Destiny Blade. Yun Yang, who was in midair, had the entire sky as a place for him to divert the force, causing his opponent's profound cultivation base to be of little use. Basically, each tremor would make Yun Yang feel rather uncomfortable, but it was still within the range of Yun Yang's endurance. Because Wu Yu cherished his saber, he had never fought with his life on the line. In addition, he was able to divert the force in midair, so the impact of the current aftershock was not too difficult to bear. Wu Yu's response was effective once again. Merciless Dao was also parried by him, unharmed. He did not even have to use his spare left hand. His mystical qi, which was much more profound than Yun Yang's, was still exerting great power. 2 moves had gone by without any effect, but Yun Yang was not discouraged. He focused his strength on the saber in his hand again, and immediately, he felt the divine edge in his hand buzz, faintly exuding a sense of comfort. It was also an excitement that urged Yun Yang to fight as soon as possible. The divine edge longed for battle, longing even more to defeat the opponent's saber. Only by destroying the opponent could the true nature of the saber be seen. Yun Yang completely sensed the excitement and put it into action, igniting the flames of battle once more. His lean body spun in the air again, the saber linger and life and death in a thought were executed simultaneously. The first 2 moves were 70% of his strength, but these 2 moves had increased to 90%. The 2 sabers overlapped and flowed out, but the combined force was not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. The saber wind howled, covering the sky and earth. Wu Yu had countered 2 of Yun Yang's marvelous saber techniques without being tested. Although he was not overly complacent, he still had a vague feeling that his opponent was only SOSO and his mystical qi cultivation base was the key to this battle. Now that he saw the 2 attacks coming at him together, he immediately had a bad feeling. Wu Yu instinctively sensed that under the edge of his opponent's blade, it was as if a world of mortals had suddenly appeared in the arena. An indescribable yearning suddenly arose in his heart, and his mind was almost stolen. Wu Yu's heart skipped a beat. He countered the attacks as he took 8 steps back, trying his best to channel the 7 Stars sect's frozen heart charm to calm his mind and expel any stray thoughts. Only then did he manage to suppress the feeling. However, the other saber, the one that could decide life and death, had already arrived at the side of his neck after a moment of hesitation. Chapter 1131. This slash did not leave any trace or trajectory. It was as if it had appeared out of nowhere and had crossed the air to arrive. Wu Yu's expression changed. His left hand that had been hanging in front of him moved abruptly, striking out diagonally. The palm strike was not meant to defeat the enemy but to generate a strong counterforce. He retreated 180 feet like an arrow, narrowly avoiding the fatal strike. He was still drenched in cold sweat from the shock. His opponent's saber skill was so marvelous that it had far exceeded the limits of common sense, its subtlety was almost unimaginable. That moment just now was the moment when he had just used up all his strength and had yet to generate new strength. If he had not been on guard, he might not have been able to discover his opponent's flaw in that instant. His opponent would have taken advantage of that gap and succeeded. There was actually such a saber skill in this world. The whistling in the air had yet to stop, but this time, the saber's wind came from the back of his head. River of blood, reincarnation under the saber. Yun Yang's saber skill grew more and more exquisite. Furthermore, a shapeless web of sabers formed in the air once more, the air grew thicker and thicker than before. 100% of his strength. Wu Yu was slightly frightened. He knew that he could not drag on any longer. God knew how many more exquisite skills his opponent had yet to unleash. If he allowed his opponent to do as he pleased, he could not guarantee that he would not fail miserably. With a sudden roar, the saber in his hand glowed with 7 spots of starlight that shot out. It was like the Big Dipper, shining eternally in the northern sky, appearing at this moment and descending upon the mortal realm. At the same time, his left palm struck again. As it extended and retracted, 9 palm strikes were launched. The extremely ferocious profound qi blasted out like raging waves. From Wu Yu's point of view, borrowing strength from the void was not like stepping on the ground, there was bound to be a limit. He did not believe that Yun Yang's mystical qi would be able to support him to fight in the air under his relentless attacks. After the 9 palm strikes from his left hand, dozens of palm strikes followed. Coupled with the powerful saber skills, the attacks were launched with the force of splitting mountains and rocks. Wu Yu's judgment was not wrong. Yun Yang was indeed a little out of his reach. Saber Truth, Destiny Blade was almost invincible against opponents of the same level. Even if the difference was between beginner and pinnacle of the same level, it could still force the opponent into a fluster in a very short amount of time, thereby gaining the upper hand and even winning. However, when facing an opponent who was a level higher than him, Wu Yu was almost 2 whole levels higher than him. His superb and exquisite moves, when faced with the opponent's tyrannical strength, were no longer as easy to deal with as before. Yun Yang had officially advanced to beginner 2nd level while Wu Yu was at the pinnacle of 3rd level. The gap between the Saint Kings was not the same as the gap between the 2nd and 3rd grade of the Venerable Realm. In fact, it was almost as big as the gap between heaven and earth. In fact, Wu Yu was already very surprised that Yun Yang could last until now, not to mention that he had almost beheaded Wu Yu with a single slash just now. Now, however, Wu Yu was going all out, unleashing his thick cultivation base in the most extreme, almost unreasonable way. He was truly suppressing his opponent with sheer force, vividly demonstrating the saying that 1 man could defeat 10 men with sheer force. In order to deal with Wu Yu's fierce counterattack, Yun Yang's mystical qi foundation was drained almost instantly. Fortunately, he managed to bounce himself up into the air to avoid the other party's attack. This time, he actually flew about 400 to 500 feet high. Although he did not succeed in one go, Wu Yu's expression showed that he had victory in his grasp. He could clearly feel that his opponent was exhausted. He could clearly feel the weakness of his opponent as the last wisp of mystical chi was drawn out. The confinement of hundreds of consecutive palm strikes was enough to squeeze out the last bit of his opponent's energy. Although he had expended a lot of energy in that round of fierce attacks, paying at least 10 times more than his opponent, the huge difference in their mystical chi reserves and foundation was evident now. He could afford to expend his energy like this, but his opponent was still out of strength despite having expended less. Even if he was not completely exhausted, he would be exhausted. Only such a method could counter the opponent's marvelous saber technique. No matter how marvelous his technique was, Yun Yang would deal with it. The focus of a cultivator's battle was still their mystical chi cultivation base. Now, as long as Yun Yang landed, the battle would come to an end. In the blink of an eye, Yun Yang's momentum that had been propelled into the sky due to the massive impact had come to an abrupt halt. He fell like a falling meteor. Wu Yu laughed when he saw the situation. His saber light flashed again as he charged forward. He did not want to give Yun Yang any more chances. Let this last collision end this pinnacle battle. However, a change that exceeded Wu Yu's expectations came at the very next moment. The moment the two sabers came into contact, Yun Yang's saber emitted an unprecedented force along with a strange swirling force. When Wu Yu's saber met the attack, a soft clang could be heard as his entire body was almost pulled to the side by the force. Wu Yu urged his mystical chi to stabilize himself, but he was shocked to realize that it was still the same viscous force that had appeared for the third time and was even stronger than before. The sudden change made Wu Yu's heart tremble. What was going on? Wasn't he exhausted just now? Where did this strange force come from? As an accomplished cultivator, Wu Yu had been immersed in mystical chi cultivation his entire life. Naturally, he could tell that the force that Yun Yang was wielding was not mystical chi at all. If it was not mystical chi, then what was it? Mystical chi, as the hard currency of the bound of universe's cultivators, had long been deeply rooted in the hearts of all cultivators. Now that there was suddenly something that surpassed or even subverted their understanding, how could they not be shocked? Yun Yang had used the endless divine art in this strike. Not only had he successfully diverted Wu Yu's saber away, he had also shaken Wu Yu's mind, causing the tables to turn. At this delicate moment, the wind blew and the mountain of white bones converged. The two ferocious strikes of saber truth, destiny blade descended in a domineering manner. In Wu Yu's senses, a mountain suddenly appeared in front of him. It was a majestic mountain made entirely of white bones and skeletons. The eye sockets of each skeleton that constructed the mountain were glimmering with a faint light. Each light was a ray of saber light. Boom! Before the ferocious strike, Wu Yu steadied his mind and mustered all his mystical chi and all his strength to parry the attack. Alas, he could not unleash his full strength due to the sudden turn of events and was flung away by the two saber strikes. His body was covered in 17 to 18 saber marks. However, his cultivation base was profound indeed, far above Yun Yang's. Although his clothes were shredded and hung on his body in strips, they did not manage to cut through his flesh. It was a remarkable feat indeed. It was also at this moment that Wu Yu spat out a mouthful of blood. Genius in a second, remember this site's address. Mobile version. Chapter 1132. Even with Wu Yu's cultivation, he had to forcefully reverse the profound chi and forcefully raise his strength in order to deal with the emergency. Although his physical body was not damaged, his internal organs were unavoidably injured, but this little bit of injury was not considered serious. At most, he would be able to suppress it with a few circulations of his chi. In spite of this, Wu Yu could not care less about the severity of his injuries. Instead, he was caught in an unprecedented state of stupor. What kind of power was this? It was a mystical power that he had never seen before in his life. Regarding this point, Wu Yu could confirm it himself. Since the start of the fight, it was the first time Wu Yu was flustered and flustered. In terms of strength, he had the absolute advantage. He did not lack combat experience either, at least not inferior to Yun Yang. Furthermore, from the beginning of the fight, he knew what level of mystical chi his opponent possessed, what tactics he used, how long he could push his opponent to the end of his rope, and what techniques he could use to push his opponent to the end of his rope, when he could force his opponent to burn his life force, when he could force his opponent to self-destruct. Wu Yu had a clear understanding of all these, a precise judgment. This was the experience and intuition he had accumulated from thousands of years of battles. Now, however, Wu Yu realized sadly that it was this experience and intuition that had harmed him and interfered with his judgment. His heart told him that Yun Yang was now at the end of his rope. Even if he were to burn his life force, he would not be able to summon too much power. Even if Yun Yang could self-destruct now, the threat he posed would not be much of a threat. It was far from enough to pull him along with him. However, the other party had suddenly transformed, recovering from an extremely bad state where he should have been at the end of his rope, to a state of vigor and vigor. He had even unleashed a power that was beyond his knowledge, a power that he had never come into contact with before. He was full of energy, full of vigor and vigor, charging back. Wu Yu was even a little lost, flustered, and at a loss for what to do. He could only react based on his instinct. Just as he was in a daze, Yun Yang took the opportunity to cast his signature move, displaying the two strongest moves of Destiny Blade so far. The gates of life and death opened. The 18 levels of hell. Without a doubt, these two techniques were the strongest and most unparalleled techniques of saber truth, Destiny Blade that Yun Yang had cultivated. With Yun Yang's current cultivation base, when he executed these two techniques at the same time, he would be in a state of complete exhaustion at the same time. Correspondingly, the power of these two moves could be imagined. However, with a whistling sound, the saber light that filled the air suddenly gathered and condensed into a beam. The blazing, glaring white light shot out and split into two. In front of Wu Yu, there seemed to be a door that should not exist in this world suddenly opened. The door of life and death. One step forward was like a mountain of blades, one step back was like a sea of fire. This sort of scene seemed to have materialized from nothingness, and it was completely real. The piercingly cold saber light tore through his body. Behind the door, there was still the 18 levels of hell. It was so familiar, just like his imagination and knowledge of the 18 levels. At that moment, his thoughts ran amok, and he could no longer control himself. His body's balance was completely skewed by Yun Yang. Wu Yu sighed in his heart and closed his eyes. How did he end up like this when he was in a good situation? Life and death, hell in front of him. In the next moment, 7 stars fall. Wu Yu knew that his mind was already bewitched by Yun Yang's technique and that it was inevitable for him to be struck. He steeled his heart and executed the 7 stars gate's most extreme and desperate move. He did not hold back at all, intending to perish together with his opponent. However, he had already lost his balance and was unsure of where the attack would land. Furthermore, he could clearly feel that his body was being sliced into pieces by the sharp saber energy cast by his opponent. As long as he was not dead. As long as he could survive this move. As he attacked with all his might, he mustered his remaining strength to retreat quickly, intending to escape from danger. It was a pity that it was too late. The 18 levels of hell had already enveloped his entire body, he was now in another space. The so-called retreat was merely a figment of his imagination, it was completely ineffective. Swoosh, 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 that was the sound of the saber's edge landing on his body. He was a third-level pinnacle Saint King, the sturdiness of his physical body was comparable to that of a divine weapon. Even with the sharpness of the divine edge, the first slash could only break through the surface layer of his mystical chi defense. At the very least, he would have to wait until the second slash landed on his body before it could truly cause any damage. Yun Yang had already calculated this. With a flick of his wrist, hundreds of slashes fell rapidly. With such a frequent attack, there had to be a few slashes that landed on the same spot. As the saber light fell, lines of blood shot out in a frenzy. From afar, the sky above the arena looked like a red ball of blood. It continued to roll and spread in the air. A furious roar followed by a deafening explosion. A mushroom cloud suddenly rose in the arena. Honestly speaking, Wu Yu did not want to self-destruct. As long as he could get through this, he was confident that he could exhaust Yun Yang to death. But the previous mistake had a huge impact on Wu Yu, and it was too fatal. The moment the balance was lost, Yun Yang had grasped the opportunity. It was only a momentary change that had turned the tables on him. Trapped in the atmosphere of the 18 abysses of hell, Wu Yu's state of mind was increasingly unbalanced, rendering him powerless to turn the tables. Unable to break free from the shackles, he could only choose to self-destruct amidst the saber light. If he did not self-destruct, he could only be sliced into dust by Yun Yang's slashes, unable to do anything else. He really did not have any other way. However, his self-destruction this time was too passive. To Yun Yang, it was not even as powerful as the self-destruction he had endured when he faced off against the Golden Cauldron sect's great elder, Xiaofan. After the explosion, everyone could see that as the mushroom cloud rose, there was a purple silhouette flying and rolling at the top of the mushroom cloud. It soared another 200 feet into the air before its purple robe was completely torn apart, fluttering in the air like butterflies. Yun Yang, on the other hand, was wearing a bluish-white inner robe and was still safe and sound. The bluish-white inner robe was only slightly damaged. At this moment, he even had the time to dodge in the air. Even though he spat out a mouthful of blood, everyone could see clearly that the residence of 9 Supreme Sect leader was not in any life-threatening danger. Compared to Wu Yu, who had self-destructed, he was in a much better state. Pu Deshuang's face had long darkened. In fact, it had darkened the moment Wu Yu self-destructed. Looking at the indescribably excited Huiyun Feng, Pu Deshuang's lips moved a few times before he managed to hold back the urge to curse. Chapter 1133. After a few breaths, Yun Yang, who had been tossing and turning in the air, finally landed on the ground. He staggered a few steps before regaining his footing. He was the only one left in the field. Although it wasn't a complete victory, it was still a complete victory, a complete victory. No matter how lucky the victory was, it was a victory after all. No wonder someone from the Golden Cauldron sect dares to challenge the middle class. Just based on this pinnacle battle alone, if Chu Xiaofan were to face Wu Yu, the chances of him winning are more than 90%. Yun Yang pondered in his heart. At this moment, the entire 7 Stars sect, including the sect leader, wished that their eyeballs could pop out from their eye sockets. Lost. How could they lose? The Great Elder clearly had the upper hand from the beginning, and he had been dominating the whole time. How could he lose? This was too inexplicable. The first pinnacle battle, the residence of 9 Supremes wins. Pu Deshuang's heart was throbbing and bleeding when he said this. Who would have thought that the residence of 9 Supremes was such a monster? How could they turn the tables and win when there was a gap of 2 levels? How could they explain this? This victory was basically equivalent to winning 2 battles, the pinnacle battle and the sect leader's battle. Duan Tianchong, the 7 Stars sect's leader, would definitely not dare to mention the sect leader's battle again. It would be asking for a beating. If the sect leader's battle really took place, winning or losing was secondary. Based on Yun Yang's impression of him, he would definitely play him to death in the battle without any mercy. Shadows flickered in the field. Wu Yu had come back to life, but he was still standing in the field, looking at Yun Yang opposite him with a complicated expression. I know, I've lost. But I want to know, what kind of cultivation method are you using? How can you be so powerful? Wu Yu asked in a low voice. Upon hearing Wu Yu's question, all the people in the third realm immediately went into an uproar. You, Wu Yu, are the great elder of the Seven Stars sect, a person with peak combat strength. How could you ask such a layman's question? Personal cultivation was the cultivator's biggest secret. Once it was known, it was tantamount to revealing one's own strengths and weaknesses. If someone answered you, then they would be a fool. As expected, the cultivation method I cultivate is my personal secret. We are enemies. Why would Great Elder ask such a question? Yunyang looked confused. Do I have to answer you? Wu Yu's eyes grew heavy as he said, the power you displayed just now does not belong to the domain of profound energy. Yunyang asked blankly, not within the realm of mystical qi? This. Senior Wu, I'm confused by your question. You said that my cultivation doesn't belong to the domain of profound qi, then what domain can it belong to? What are you trying to say? I don't understand what you're saying at all. Wu Yu said coldly, it's up to you if you don't want to say it. His eyes revealed a sharp glint, and he said word by word, but I suspect that the arcane physique you just used is based on demonic qi. Yunyang sneered, demonic qi? Great Elder, you're really putting a big hat on me. May I ask if Great Elder knows the characteristics of demonic qi? Or do you have any evidence to prove that my cultivation method belongs to the domain of demonic cultivation? Or have you ever seen demonic qi? Wu Yu said darkly, I've indeed never seen demonic qi, and I don't have any evidence to prove it. But you obviously exhausted your qi, but you completely recovered in the blink of an eye. This is the truth that all the discerning people present have seen. How can there be a second possibility other than the fact that you cultivate a demonic qi cultivation method? Yunyang laughed. I was wondering what brilliant opinion Great Elder has, but it turns out that it's just your speculation. You think it's impossible, so you slander me by saying that I have demonic qi? The demon race? Based on what? Based on your mouth? It's a fact, so it's very possible. Wu Yu said coldly. On the high platform, Hui Yunfeng's sneer came from afar. Wu Yu, have you ever fought with the demon race? Do you know what demonic qi looks like? If you don't, then shut your stinking mouth. You're at the peak of the third-grade Saint King realm, yet you've never really fought with the demon clan before, and you still dare to spout nonsense and accuse others. You're really good at stirring up trouble and confusing others. Pu Deshuang's furious voice rang out. A loss is a loss. Why are you talking so much nonsense? What demonic qi cultivation method? Do you really know what demonic qi looks like? I think you're the demon, Wu Yu. Hurry up and scram back. The two Sacred Heart Palace's deacons must have fought with the demon race, so they naturally knew what demonic qi looked like. The cultivation method that Yunyang had operated during the battle was full of righteousness and grandeur. How could it possibly be demonic qi? So much so that when they saw Wu Yu still talking nonsense and making irresponsible remarks after losing, they were naturally furious. Of course, they were convinced that Wu Yu was just trying to turn the situation around by pestering them endlessly. However, the person who was the angriest at the moment was not Hui Yunfeng, but Pu Deshuang. Damn it, you've lost. You've lost. It's equal to losing a third of my supreme-grade spiritual jades. I'm already in a very bad mood, but you're still acting shamelessly there. It's fine if you're yelling reasonably, but you're lying so easily exposed. What's the point of yelling then? Get lost. Believe it or not, I'll beat you to death on the spot. Wu Yu retreated with a flushed face and neck. Everyone around him was looking at him strangely. Even Duan Tianchong's face was burning hot. This was a great disgrace to them. The number one expert of his sect had actually never fought with the demon race. Hey, shouldn't the most important thing now be thinking about the outcome of the battle? At the thought of the outcome, Duan Tianchong's face suddenly turned pale. I've lost for a while. I've already lost for a while. I've already lost for a while. What should I do next? I'm in a passive position. The second battle, the battle of the backbone. On the high platform, Pu Deshuang glared fiercely at the Seven Stars sect and shouted, "Who from the Seven Stars sect is going to fight? Hurry up." On the other side, Yun Yang had returned to his team. As he walked back, he shook his hand and put on a purple robe again. He still looked calm, graceful, and elegant. Before Yun Yang could finish his return, Luo Dejiang had already strode out of the residence of 9 Supremes with his saber on his shoulder. His majestic figure seemed to shake the whole field with every step he took. Even though they could only see a small black dot tens of thousands of feet away, they could still feel his majestic aura. Phoenix Cry Sect. Senior Brother Qi, who had just fought yesterday, had his expression change abruptly. A cold gleam flashed in his eyes as he gritted his teeth and said, Isn't that Luo Dejiang, the whetstone of the Demiurge Flawed 10? Gan Tianyen looked back at him and said nothing. Senior Brother Qi thought for a moment, then suddenly turned and bowed. Uncle Master, is Junior Sister Jiang back? Chapter 1134. Gan Tianyen said faintly, Qi Lai, we've always seen what happened between you and Luo Luo. You had your heart set on you, but the falling flowers have their heart set on you. I believe you have sensed this a long time ago. There are many female disciples in Phoenix Cry sect who like you. Sometimes, you have to be more open-minded and think less. Qi Lai closed his eyes, and his voice suddenly became dry and hoarse. Uncle Master, that's not what you said before. Gan Tianyen said faintly, the problem now is that Luo Luo doesn't agree. Do you mean that whoever you like, she must be yours? How can there be such a saying? The Lord of Sacred Heart Palace still has an unmarried daughter. If you like that young lady, should the entire Phoenix Cry sect help you snatch the bride, regardless of the consequences? Qi Lai's face was pale. I didn't mean that. It's just. Just what? You're not allowed to mention this matter again. Ping Zhenyue said sternly, Qi Lai, are you willing to watch your junior sister Jiang be unhappy for the rest of her life because of your own selfishness? Qi Lai only felt a surge of blood rush up from his heart. In an instant, his head was buzzing. For a moment, he saw stars, and his heart ached so much that he could not speak. What was going on? Why did Master and Uncle Master's attitudes change after just one battle? He couldn't figure it out, no matter how hard he tried. In fact, Qi Lai had discovered it too late. If he had asked before Yun Yang defeated Wu Yu, Gan Tianyen and Ping Zhenyue's attitudes would have been much better. Or, if Yun Yang had been defeated, their attitudes would still be different, and they would not have been so resolute. But the reality now was that Yun Yang had won, and it was a brilliant and magnificent victory. The situation was obvious now. Residents of 9 Supremes only needed to win 2 more matches to become a middle-class celestial luck banner sect. And Luo Dejiang was the 3rd most powerful person in residents of 9 Supremes. He could speak for residents of 9 Supremes. In terms of status alone, Jiang Luo Luo was now inferior to him. Although Qi Lai was the leader of Phoenix Cry sect's elite disciples, he was really not important enough in the current situation. If they messed up this marriage, then they would offend an entire middle-ranked sect. Moreover, it was a middle-ranked sect with limitless potential for development. For a sect like this, befriending this sect or becoming a sworn enemy, it went without saying which was more important. This debt, as long as one was human, they would settle it. Moreover, the other party was in love with each other, while the other party was only in one-sided love. It went without saying how to choose. Even if Luo Dejiang's current cultivation base is slightly weaker than yours, you will be able to defeat him. However, he is the number 3 figure of a middle-rank sect. And you, Qi Lai, what kind of figure do you have in our Phoenix Cry sect? Are you in the top 50? Yes, this was the reality, the naked reality, the most realistic reality, and also the helpless reality. When it came to family matters, it was better to go along with the brother's feelings than the sister-in-law's, not to mention matters that concerned the future of the sect. Of course, what was more beneficial had to be considered first. Many times, people's minds were really quite dark. Luo Dujiang stood majestically in the center of the field. He was tall and had long legs. With a broadsword on his shoulder, he looked up at the direction of the 7 Stars sect. Luo Dujiang of the Residence of 9 Supremes awaits your instruction. A majestic voice rang out leisurely, shaking the whole field. Duan Tianchong held the hand of a middle-aged man tightly, his eyes almost brimming with tears. Second Uncle Master, we must not lose the second round again. The man's face was solemn as he said, rest assured, sect leader, we will win. Wu Yu came over and said, the opponent's overall strength is weaker than ours. Moreover, it is at least a level weaker, but its moves and techniques are all exquisite. You have to be steady and sure to win. Don't advance rashly, and don't give the opponent a chance to use his ingenious saber skills. If you get into a fight, remember to keep a certain distance and don't give the opponent a chance. This was the conclusion of Wu Yu's experience in the battle with Yun Yang. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that he had lost unjustly just now. His mystical qi cultivation base was obviously much deeper than his opponent's, and if it were not for the divine weapon in his hand, he might have won a long time ago. Even in the end, if he had not been too close to Yun Yang, how could his center of gravity be shifted by the opponent's trick? If he had not made that mistake, even if Yun Yang had recovered 3 or 4 more times, he would have been able to outlast him. This was the most realistic opinion from his own experience. I'll remember it. Don't worry, senior brother Wu. Having said that, the man glided down the stage and rushed to the battlefield. 7 Stars sect, Lang Yongsheng. Please. Please. As soon as the words left his lips, both men charged at the same time, launching their first wave of attacks. Luo Dajiang's eyes glowed brightly at the beginning of the battle. His mystical qi was instantly mustered to its limit, overflowing with mystical qi, causing the formation around him to rise in mist as he launched an aggressive attack. And in the instant before the two of them clashed, Luo Dajiang's aura increased by 30%. It turned out that in the instant he had advanced, he had burned his life force to the maximum in exchange for a power that surpassed his own limits. This battle concerned the success or failure of his sect's advancement, so he must not lose. But the person in front of me has a cultivation base and combat strength above mine. I can't defeat him with my true ability. Then I'll fight with my life. I'll give it a try with my life. Luo Dajiang let out a ferocious roar and leaped into the air. The saber in his hand was like a shadow in the air, flashing and slashing down with unprecedented ferocity. This strike was Luo Dajiang's ultimate strike that surpassed his own limits, an unprecedented and extreme strike. Lang Yongsheng, who had come to fight the 7 Stars sect, looked cultured and elegant, but he held a large axe in his hand. Facing Luo Dajiang's ferocious attack, he met it head-on without dodging or evading, counterattacking like a gale sweeping away fallen leaves. Clang! The clash between the two men was completely different from the previous probing matches between their opponents. Lang Yongsheng had used more than 90% of his strength, while Luo Dajiang had used 120% of his mystical qi. Yes, 120% of his mystical qi that surpassed his own limits, and that was the power of burning his life force. A deafening explosion shook the entire audience. Luo Dajiang's saber was completely shattered into pieces, and the webbing between his thumb and forefinger was bleeding profusely. His opponent's condition was not good either. First, his body trembled violently, and a large crack appeared on his axe. However, his opponent's reaction was lightning fast, and he immediately retreated, dispersing the aftershock of the impact. However, Luo Dajiang's response was beyond everyone's expectation. In the first exchange of blows, he was at a disadvantage. Even his weapon had been destroyed, but he didn't retreat even half a step. As he spurted out a mouthful of blood mixed with some fragments of his internal organs, instead of retreating, he leaped forward like a tiger and forcibly embraced Lang Yongsheng with his iron-like arms. Remember the mobile version of the website, Chapter 256, Battle. The difference between the front and the back. Page 1/1, bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 1135. You're courting death. Lang Yongsheng bellowed furiously. As a martial artist and a profound cultivator whose cultivation base was far above his opponent's, he had countless ways to shatter his opponent's fighting style. It was easy for him to get rid of the current shackles, and he only needed a moment to react. It was a pity that he did not have the time to react. The next moment, Luo Dajiang grinned hideously and said, "Let's do it together." Then, with a deafening explosion, another mushroom cloud rose into the air. Luo Dajiang had chosen to self-destruct at the first moment. Actually, if one thought about it carefully, Luo Dajiang's choice wasn't that hard to imagine. Before he went to battle, he already knew that his true strength was inferior to his opponent's. In fact, it wasn't just a little bit inferior. Furthermore, that clash had proven this fact. He had used his life to stimulate the ultimate power of his body and went all out, but he still could not gain the upper hand. If he forced himself to fight, he would never be the opponent's match. Perhaps, it would not take long for him to suffer a crushing defeat. In that case, he would not leave any room for maneuver. Taking advantage of the gap when his opponent retreated, he would grab him and self-destruct immediately. He did not seek to win, but to perish together with his opponent and fight for a draw. And then, he succeeded. Luo Dajiang's idea, in hindsight, was completely logical and could be considered the best strategy. However, it was something that no one had expected just now. Such a fighting style had never appeared in the tens of thousands of years of the Celestial Luck Banner battle, and it could be said to be a pioneer in the Celestial Luck Banner battle. Was it not child's play to self-destruct when one did not even know the opponent's strength? But that was exactly what happened now. Luo Dajiang had self-destructed in the blink of an eye. Yun Yang's expression remained unchanged, and his eyes were fixed on the field. Duan Tianchong, on the other hand, screamed and stood up, his face sallow. Luo Dajiang had planned to fight for a draw by self-destructing before he entered the field, but Lang Yongsheng had planned to win steadily and surely. Now, the Seven Stars sect desperately needed a win to turn the tables, but this result was completely different from their pre-battle preparations. Now, it all depended on whether Lang Yongsheng could withstand the opponent's extreme self-destruction. Duan Tianchong's heart was ice-cold. Clearly, he did not think that Lang Yongsheng would be able to withstand the other party's self-detonation. After all, Lang Yongsheng had self-detonated while being in someone's embrace. How could that be good? Anyone could see that Luo Dajiang was doing it while he was in his strongest state. The momentum, power, and the extreme distance between the two of them, the power that Lang Yongsheng had to bear was even greater and more direct than Chu Xiaofeng's. There was no room for him to turn the situation around. The entire battleground was covered in dust and rocks. The air billowed, causing all the spectator stands to shake. Almost everyone present was covered in dust and dirt. After a long while, the smoke and dust gradually dispersed, and the field of vision gradually became clear again. In the arena, Luo Dajiang was nowhere to be found. This was understandable. It would be strange if the person involved could still exist after the self-detonation. The only problem was Lang Yongsheng. Far away from the center of the explosion, there was a body with no arms and legs, and no head. It was dripping with blood and flesh. It looked as if it had been tossed into the wilderness and then bitten by wild wolves and dogs for a long time. Everyone's mind went blank from the shock. The death was too tragic, it was directly torn apart by 5 horses. Swoosh, in midair, something fell down. The crowd looked up and saw a small black dot falling from midair. When it got closer, they could see that it was a head. When it got closer, they could tell that it was Lang Yongsheng's head. With a bang, Lang Yongsheng's head hit the ground, bounced about 10 feet up like a rubber ball, and then fell down again, bouncing on the ground, looking very lively. Then, it rolled around, turned around, and stopped moving. Puff! In the main stand, Pu Deshuang spurted out a mouthful of blood and said in an extremely strange tone, "The second fight, the fight between the backbone forces, is a draw." Everyone was dumbfounded. A draw? Yes, it was a draw. Both sides had perished together. Both of them were dead. If it wasn't a tie, what else could it be? Duan Tianchong slumped into his chair, his face ashen. A draw. It was a tie again. We were supposed to win this round. How did it end up as a tie? Yun Yang, on the other hand, quietly heaved a sigh of relief. A draw. This was the best result. Yun Yang was ready to give up this fight, because Shi Wuchen and the others were no match for a third-grade Saint King cultivator with their real ability. In this battle, they deserved to lose. There was nothing to be said about it. It was wishful thinking to win this fight. There was no hope at all. But now, the tie was a complete and unexpected surprise. After a long, long time, junior sister Yu from Daluo sect was the first to exclaim, "So heroic. So manly. So heroic. So manly. Why can't I meet such a manly man?" She repeated it several times, her tone becoming more and more sorrowful. However, from her tone, it was obvious that she was going to fall in love with someone else. Shi Wuchen and the rest subconsciously stole a glance at Yun Yang. Did this mean that they had been cuckolded in a different sense? Yun Yang looked calm on the surface, but he was cursing inwardly. *CK, since the beginning of the Tianxian continent, when have I ever had my limelight stolen like this? Although it's not wrong, I don't feel aggrieved. After 2 rounds of fights, residents of 9 Supremes had won 1 match in the fight of the Pinnacle, and they had a draw in the fight of the Backbone. It could be said that they had the upper hand. The opponent's so-called 3 matches had now become a joke, because the final result was only a draw in the 3rd match, changing the score to 1 win, 1 loss, and 1 draw. Pu Deshuang glanced at Hui Yunfeng, then at him again, and then at him again. The look in his eyes grew more and more indignant. I knew something was wrong. I just felt something was wrong. Now it seems that I've been tricked. This old man's previous actions were all a trap. His acting skills are too good. Hui Yunfeng looked at him innocently. Why are you looking at me? Aren't you going to preside over the follow-up formation? Can't you have a little sense of responsibility? That's your duty, don't you know? Pu Deshuang's face was dark. He opened his mouth, showing his white teeth, and opened and closed it at Hui Yunfeng. Hui Yunfeng sighed emotionally and said, "The battle just now was too heroic. So manly. Oh, so heroic. So manly." Remember the mobile version of the website, Chapter 257, Heroic So Manly. So manly. Page 1/1, bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 1136. Pu Deshuang took a deep breath, stretched out his finger, and pointed at Hui Yunfeng's face a few times before he said word by word, "Hui Yunfeng." Hui Yunfeng put on a big smile and said, "Brother Pu, the bet between us is just a small matter. We'd better get down to business now." The battle was not over yet. Who would win and who would lose was still up in the air. Why are you so anxious now, Brother Pooh? The Seven Stars sect is known to be invincible in the Battle of Formations. The third round is a battle of formations, so we can definitely turn the tables. Once we turn the tables, both sides will be tied, and there are still the fourth and fifth rounds. You still have a chance. Besides, the Seven Stars sect is an old sect with a profound foundation. I'm a little worried that we will lose miserably, Pu Deshuang grunted. He had thought so at first. But now that Hui Yunfeng said it, he could not help but feel even worse. F***ck, am I going to lose this battle of formations as well? Hui Yunfeng, you cunning old fox. Rogues are not scary, but rogues who know how to act are too F***king scary. The third round, the battle of formations. Pu Deshuang stomped his feet and roared with a majestic voice. He vented all of his frustrations with this roar. The whole five-layered mountain trembled. Brother Pooh, you have a great cultivation base. What a great cultivation base. Hui Yunfeng gave him a thumbs up and continued to flatter him. Your cultivation base is truly world-shaking. The third round, the Battle of Formations, began as scheduled. The Seven Stars sect's 7 stars converge array was almost instantaneously set up, waiting in the field. Their determination to win was completely obvious. This was the magical treasure of the Seven Stars sect, so naturally, they were full of confidence. In any case, there would be no mistake. The residents of 9 Supremes, on the other hand, was still considering, probably a little hesitant about this round of battles. Unlike Hui Yunfeng, who was very confident in the residents of 9 Supremes' formation, Yun Yang was really a little uncertain now. After pondering for a long time, he finally said in a deep voice, Jejia stays here. The other 9 will set up, the 9 Supremes Earth formation. Sun Mingxiu will be in the center to preside over the formation, while Bai Yexing, Hu Xiaofan, and Yun Xiuxin will be in charge of the formation from 3 sides. The rest of you, operate the formation strictly according to the formation, and don't be greedy. As the name suggested, the 9 Supremes formation was completely different from the 9 Peaks formation that was used in the battle for lower-class celestial luck banners. The Great 9 Supremes formation was a formation that originally belonged to Yutong's 9 Supremes and was derived from the 9 Heavens domain. Not only was it powerful, but it also encompassed the operation of various forms. As for the 9 Supreme Earth Elemental formations, they were known for their powerful defensive abilities. Yun Yang had made up his mind. Establishing an invincible position in this battle was his top priority. The main reason Yun Yang made such a decision was that he felt that the 7 disciples from 7 Stars sect were much stronger than the 10 disciples from residents of 9 Supremes in terms of individual cultivation base. In the face of such a huge gap, Yun Yang had to be on guard. The results of the first 2 matches had exceeded his expectations, so he did not have to win the third match, and it was enough for him to get a draw. After all, the following match of disciples was another sure-win match, and the final victory was already within his grasp. Fight! At Yun Xiuxin's order, 9 people landed in the field like 9 white clouds. Each of them was holding a long sword, and each of them was dressed in fair skin and looked very attractive. On the high platform, Hui Yunfeng's gaze suddenly changed a little, and an inexplicable suspicion rose in his heart. The formation residents of 9 Supremes has set up this time seems to be a little different from the last one. After the 9 members of the residents of 9 Supremes landed on the ground, they did not move anymore. They stood in their respective positions like 9 clay sculptures, staring quietly at the 7 stars battle formation in front of them as if they were waiting for the enemy to attack. If the enemy doesn't move, I won't move. If they move, I won't move either. The 2 formations were in a stalemate for a long time, but still, no one made the first move. The 7 disciples of 7 Stars sect on the opposite side were a little embarrassed by the situation. We've come out and set up the formation for a long time, waiting for the enemy to attack, but the enemy did not move and just stood there. What should we do? The Seven Stars formation of Seven Stars sect focused on stopping the enemy by remaining still and striking later to gain the upper hand. It was indeed a rare technique to use 7 people to defend against an incoming attack and then switch to the Seven Stars transformation to launch a joint attack. However, taking the initiative to attack was not their strong point. Now that the enemy did not take the initiative to attack, they naturally felt a little uncomfortable. As for the disciples of Residents of 9 Supremes, their thinking was much simpler. Master has just solemnly instructed us to act according to the plan and not to move if the enemy does not move. Anyway, we will never take the initiative to attack. If anyone messes up the plan and causes them to fail in their advancement, the look given to them by their fellow disciples would be enough to make them commit suicide out of shame, not to mention the punishment from their master. In any case, if you don't move, we won't move. If the stalemate continues until no one moves, it will be a draw. We are not afraid of a draw, and we like it very much. After a long while, when neither side took the initiative to move, the disciples of Seven Stars sect were so angry that their mouths were twisted. The Seven Stars formation of Seven Stars sect was named after the word formation, and its main purpose was to stop the enemy from taking the initiative to attack. When attacked by the enemy, they would usually choose to encircle the enemy in the formation, so that the power of the Seven Stars formation could be fully exerted. This was the main reason why Seven Stars sect could remain undefeated and in an invincible position in the formation battle. A draw was also an undefeated position. But now, what the Seven Stars sect needed was a victory, so they desperately hoped that the enemy would attack. However, his opponent didn't move. He didn't move at all. In the history of previous battles, Seven Stars sect had never encountered such a situation. Come on, challengers of Residents of 9 Supremes, you are here to challenge us, and you have made it clear in advance, but why are you not attacking? Why don't you move? Don't you want to challenge us? Don't you want to win? The disciple in charge of the formation could not help but shout angrily. Yun Xiaofan raised her chin and said, "Then why don't you move? It should be you who are eager to win now, isn't it? It should be you who are going to attack us, isn't it?" The Seven Stars sect disciple bellowed, "This is outrageous. You are the challengers, but you don't attack. What kind of logic is this?" Xiaofan laughed and said, "What kind of logic is this? There is a law, and there is a way to break it. We don't attack, and you don't fight. Let's just stay in this stalemate. It seems that this battle will end in a draw. We have no objection to this, and we are happy to see it happen." The 7 disciples of Seven Stars sect were so angry that their noses twitched. "You are indeed happy to accept a draw because you have won one more match. But we can't accept it, because we need this victory." Both sides confronted each other quietly for a while, but still, neither side made the first move. At this time, laughter finally came from the audience stand. Anyone from the sects with middle-class celestial luck banners was a seasoned fighter, but no one had ever seen such a strange situation. Both sides stood still as soon as they entered the arena, and the situation fell into an unexpected stalemate. However, after a burst of laughter, the higher-ups of the sects, except for those from Seven Stars sect, felt a chill in their hearts, and their eyes lit up. Chapter 1137. Although Seven Stars sect was ranked last previously, its Seven Stars formation was not to be underestimated. It was said to be invincible in a battle of formations. Even the higher-ranked disciples of middle-ranked sects would suffer a little when they encountered the Seven Stars formation when they traveled the martial world. However, it seemed that the Residents of 9 Supremes Yun Yang had figured out the crux of the Seven Stars formation, whether it was a coincidence or a coincidence. Although the Seven Stars formation sounded like it was about stopping the enemy by remaining still and striking later, it was actually impossible to initiate an attack. Or perhaps, once it initiated an attack, its power would be greatly reduced. He could instruct his disciples to imitate the 7 stars formation when they encountered it in the future, he. 7 Stars sect leader Duan Tianchong's face had already turned the color of a pig's liver. This detestable residence of 9 Supremes, this detestable Yunyang, had actually exposed the sect's biggest weakness to the public. What he did not know was that Yunyang's success this time was largely due to luck. The 9 Supremes formation's Earth Elemental formation pursued extreme defense, so much so that it could not initiate an attack at all. It could only replace offense with defense, only by defending could one speak of counterattacking. It was true that the thick earth could bear and contain everything, but it would never take the initiative to crush and invade everything. Using this characteristic in the Tao of array formations, the main purpose of the passive defensive array formation was to make all attacks disappear in this vast land. After a while, the laughter around them grew louder and louder, the mockery overflowing. Duan Tianchong hollered coldly, 7 Stars disciples, attack. He could not hold it in any longer, ordering his disciples to attack with all their might. Of course, the reason he had issued the order was mostly because the disciples of the residents of 9 Supremes before him were all immature children. How strong could they be? Although the 7 Stars formation was better at attacking than defending, it was not completely useless. What could they do even if they took the initiative to attack? The 7 Stars formation disciples hollered at the same time. Their feet stepped on the precise position, and like 7 stars in a row, they leaped up and charged toward the residents of 9 Supremes. The 9 disciples of the residents of 9 Supremes were still calm, but the tips of their swords were raised slightly. The next moment, the 7 Stars sect's disciples flew into the sky. Their swords crisscrossed, and like snowflakes falling from the sky, they fell down. On the residents of 9 Supreme side, Sun Mingxiu, who was hosting the battle, shouted, "Take a step back." The 9 disciples of the residents of 9 Supremes retreated at the same time. In the blink of an eye, they had already retreated 100 feet back. The attacks of the 7 members of the 7 Stars Assembly had all landed where the formation of 9 Supremes had originally been, failing to cause any damage. The 7 disciples of the 7 Stars Assembly of the 7 Stars sect were renowned for many decisive battles. Naturally, none of them was an ordinary person. Although their attack had missed, their formation was not disrupted at all. They charged forward for the second time, and this time, the distance was shorter, not allowing the disciples of the residents of 9 Supremes to avoid the battle again. One step further, the sky is higher and the sea is wider. Sun Mingxiu's voice sounded again. Just as the opponent's feet touched the ground and he was about to leap up again, the residents of 9 Supremes' 9 swords flew out in unison. With a loud bang, the 2 battle formations collided head-on without any fancy tricks. Duan Tianchong's heart skipped a beat, and his face turned pale. As the leader of the 7 Stars sect, and the 7 Stars Assembly was the sect's ultimate treasure, Duan Tianchong was naturally familiar with the mysteries of this formation. The timing of the residents of 9 Supremes' attack was impeccable. It was the moment when the 7 Stars Assembly took the initiative to attack, the moment when the opponent was at its weakest, and it had hit the vitals. Therefore, the collision had caused the 7 disciples of the 7 Stars Assembly, who had a great advantage in terms of strength, to be pushed back 100 feet. Their eyes were filled with panic, their faces pale, and they did not know what to do. However, this was not what shocked Duan Tianchong the most. What really frightened him was that the 9 disciples of the residents of 9 Supremes, who were obviously weaker, did not move at all. Not even the expression on their faces had changed. All of this showed that the collision had not caused any harm to the disciples of the residents of 9 Supremes. What was going on? The 7 disciples of the 7 Stars Assembly were the 7 core disciples of the 7 Stars sect. Each of their cultivation base had reached the saint realm, and their leader was a first-tier pinnacle saint. Even if the opponent had seen through the crux of the 7 Stars Assembly formation, chosen the best time to attack, and hit the most beneficial landing point, forcing the 7-star sect's disciples to retreat, they would still have to bear a certain degree of impact. This was unavoidable. However, the opponent's disciples had not taken even half a step back, and were not injured at all. There was only one explanation for this: the disciples of the residents of 9 Supremes also had a certain level of cultivation base that was either higher or equal to the 7-star sect's disciples. At the very least, they would not be far behind. However, this knowledge was undoubtedly extremely shocking. How could the residents of 9 Supremes, a sect that had just been established for less than a year, have disciples with such cultivation bases? What was more, all 9 of them were like this. No, there was another possibility. An even more horrifying thought rose in Duan Tianchong's mind. Could it be that the residents of 9 Supremes' 9-member formation was an exquisite formation that he had never seen before? Its defense was so strong that it could withstand the impact of the 7 Stars Assembly? What should he do then? After all, the reality was right before his eyes. Against the residents of 9 Supremes' defense, the 7 Stars Assembly was obviously useless. The 7 Stars sect's disciples who were present also noticed the situation and retreated immediately, getting into formation again. This time, they dared not take the initiative to attack. That wave of recoil earlier had already caused the 7 disciples to feel a lingering fear in their hearts. As the ones who were directly affected, they felt it the most. Moreover, Duan Tianchong, who was an outsider, could not compare to them. In their perception, a large portion of that recoil was obviously an unusually familiar power that originated from themselves. In other words, the residents of 9 Supremes' formation was unimaginably exquisite. Other than concentrating the strength of the 9 disciples in one spot, it could also increase it by a few times. What was even more ridiculous was that the formation had converted all the disciples' strength into the purest form of defense. As a result, when the enemy's attack failed, they would be injured by their own strength. It was like charging at a tall mountain with all one's strength, but before the mountain crumbled, one would have to bear a considerable amount of counterforce. Furthermore, the formation of the residents of 9 Supremes did not rely on its own strong defensive power to withstand the opponent's powerful attack. Instead, it deflected the incoming force bit by bit, from the first person to the 9th person. Each person did not suffer much of the force, and everything was within its bearable range. Of course, it could remain unscathed without moving half a step. At least, in terms of the attack launched by the 7 Stars Assembly formation, it was not a test for the 9 Supremes' Earth Element formation. Don't move. The 7 Stars sect's eldest disciple reminded urgently, seize the time to recover your cultivation base. He clearly realized that in the collision just now, including himself, all the senior and junior brothers who had participated in the battle had suffered varying degrees of injuries. That was the most concentrated attack from the 7 of them, the combined force of the formation. In the end, it was the 7 of them who bore the majority of the force, especially when they had yet to stabilize their footing and could not release the force. Although the injury was not fatal, it affected their combat strength. Yes, eldest senior brother. The people of 7 Stars sect did not move again, but the people of residents of 9 Supremes did. Following Sun Mingxiu's order, the residents of 9 Supremes' formation changed abruptly. 3 men flew into the air together, and after the first 3 men took to the air, another 3 men took to the air and advanced side by side under the feet of the first 3 men. In the end, the 3 of them did not stay idle either. They chose to charge directly from the ground. The 9 people of residents of 9 Supremes formed a 3-tiered platform and attacked with great force. In just a flash, they had already arrived in front of the 7 Stars Assembly formation. At the highest and center position of the 3-tiered platform was the little girl who was as beautiful as a pearl. Her white robe was fluttering in the wind, and her pretty face was cold. She was the first to swing her sword, and the sword energy suddenly spat out 100 feet long as it slashed across the air. At the same time, she cried out, "3 flowers bloom." Bai Yexing, who was in the middle tier, and Xiaofan, who was below, also struck out at the same time. The 3 sword beams charged at the 7 stars formation. Although only 3 of them attacked and the other 6 did not draw their swords, the 9 of them were actually a whole now. The 3 at the top were stepping on the shoulders of the 3 at the bottom, while the 2 at the left and right had their hands on Xiaofan, who was in the middle. It was the same below, but the core members had been replaced by Bai Yexing and Xiaofan. 9 people, 3 steps, but every movement, even the look in their eyes, they all seemed to be the same person. From low to high, it came pressing down. Fall. This morning, his relatives and friends all came over for a gathering. He didn't drink. At night, at his house, the old man said that the 2 of them should have a drink. I said, "You should drink less. If you feel drunk, then don't drink anymore." The old master agreed. After 2.5 cups, the old man wasn't drunk, but I was. How shameful. I can't even drink an old man who's almost 70. Sigh. Today is also Beauty Z Nua's birthday. She just told me, I share the same birthday as your father. What should you call me? He was furious on the spot. I'm calling you a dumbass. Dumbass, happy birthday. Amp, GT. Chapter 1138. Fall. It was still Sun Mingxiu's voice. Although Sun Mingxiu was not the attacking point of the formation like Xiaofan and the other 2, he was the core of the formation. Only someone as calm and determined as Sun Mingxiu could see through the opponent's flaws and determine the right time to attack. As soon as Xiaofan and the other 2 attacked together, the 6 people in the sky immediately fell toward the 7 stars battle formation in a straight line. Well, they did not fall, but fall. Because their feet were still on the shoulders of their fellow disciples, the 3 of them fell straight down as if they were one. At the same time, the vast sword light also soared tenfold at this moment. This time, it was the only way of attack of the residents of 9 Supreme's Earth Element formation. Overturn, destroy, sink into the world, and sink endlessly. 3 unprecedentedly powerful sword lights formed a triangular formation from top to bottom and exploded in the 7 stars battle formation. The 7 stars sect disciples roared at the same time, "Don't mess up the formation." They raised their swords at the same time, trying to turn the tide. They were quite confident in the defensive performance of their 7 stars battle formation. Unfortunately, it was too late. There were too many reasons for their defeat, so many that they could not turn the tide. 3 streaks of sword radiance suddenly exploded in the formation, and countless streaks of sword radiance shot out in all directions with a boom. Swoosh, 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 a series of screams rang out. Each of the 7 stars sect disciples had more or less many bloody holes on their bodies. At this point, the 7 stars battle formation had completely fallen apart. The formation could not form, and it was difficult to gather the 7 stars. Scatter! Sun Mingxiu shouted again. 9 people spun in the air, sped to 9 different directions, and then scattered. At this moment, Sun Mingxiu alone moved forward and grabbed the core position of the 7 stars battle formation. Taking advantage of the subtle moment when the opponent was suddenly attacked and the formation was no longer in control, he swung his sword decisively. This sword was specially used to target the lower 3 paths. It was basically a horizontal slash close to the ankles. This attack was also a necessary move in Sun Mingxiu's strategy. Just now, Xiaofan and the other 2 had attacked the 7 stars condensation with all their might. Although they had gained a lot, they had also consumed a lot of energy. Therefore, the task of further disrupting the enemy's formation fell to Sun Mingxiu, whose cultivation base was only below Xiaofan and the other 2. Although the 7 stars sect's disciples were startled by this sudden sword attack, they didn't panic. They simultaneously leaped up to evade, and then simultaneously thrust out their 7 swords, intending to kill Sun Mingxiu. However, the moment these 7 people leaped up, their blood, like a waterfall, flowed down from the sky. It was clear that Sun Mingxiu's sword was meant to further disrupt the remaining connection of the 7 stars formation. While the 7 stars formation's effectiveness was reduced, the side effects of suppressing their injuries also followed, causing their injuries to worsen. Gather. Sun Mingxiu's sword attack had forced all the enemies to stand up, but he did not follow up with another attack. Instead, he circled his sword around his body and focused on guarding. At the same time, with another cry, Yun Xiuxin and the other 7 suddenly arrived from 8 directions. They were as fast as lightning, even faster than the 7 stars sect's sword light. Not only were they charging forward, but there was also a strong suction force at the center where Sun Mingxiu was, pulling the 8 people to him almost instantly. Just as the 7 stars sect's disciples' counterattack sword light was about to arrive, the 9 people from Residence of 9 Supremes gathered in one spot again. This time, it was Sun Mingxiu, who was guarding the center with 8 swords, who had unleashed his defensive move to the maximum. Then, the counterattack sword light from the 7 stars sect's disciples fully unleashed the power contained in the defensive sword. At the same time, the 9 people from Residence of 9 Supreme struck out at the same time. All of a sudden, a brilliant sword light appeared, its brilliance even brighter than the sudden explosion of the sun in the sky. Boom! On the high platform, Pu Deshuang's face was as black as the bottom of a pot as he murmured, 7 stars sect has lost. Yes, this time, there was no need for Pu Deshuang to announce it. Everyone could see it. In the face of such a powerful sword light, the 7 stars sect's disciples were like weak moths that plunged into the raging fire. All of them disappeared in the air, and it seemed that in the end, not even a scrap of flesh and bone was left behind. On the stand, Duan Tianchong closed his eyes and heaved a long sigh. He had not lost this battle unjustly. The power contained in the defensive sword had reached the level of a Saint King's full-force strike when the 9 disciples gathered their strength at the last moment. In the face of such a strike, how could the 7 disciples, whose cultivation base was only at the peak of first-tier Saint realm, resist it? Moreover, the 7 disciples were already seriously injured, and the 7 stars formation had dissipated. Their effort to strike out with the sword was futile, and instead, they triggered the most powerful counterattack. It was not surprising that they ended up like this. Residence of 9 Supremes wins the 3rd match, the match of formations. With Pu Deshuang's announcement, the 7 disciples of 7 stars sect came back to life a moment later. However, when they looked at the 9 disciples of Residence of 9 Supremes again, each of them had a look of trepidation on their faces at the same time. The mighty power of the last strike was clearly the opening of the gates of hell. It was too terrifying. It was too terrifying. At this moment, Pu Deshuang's face was so dark that he almost looked like a human. Looking at Pu Deshuang's face from the side, Hui Yunfeng felt extremely pleased. Suddenly, he remembered something. Hey, Pu Deshuang's mood now should be the same as mine when I lost the next few matches, and those 2 bastards must be feeling the same as mine at that moment, extremely pleased. F***ck. Those 2 bastards usually call me Big Brother, but how dare they laugh at me like this in their hearts? I must get even with them when I get back. Although my current gambling capital was lent to me by them, kindness is kindness, and hatred is hatred. That's a different matter. I'll have to drag it out for at least another 3 to 7 years before I return the gambling capital to them. Brother Pu, how is my brother feeling at the moment? Hui Yunfeng asked with a smile, his expression extremely despicable. He knew that he should not provoke Pu Deshuang at this moment, but he could not help but blurt out the provocative words, unable to restrain the despicable impulse in his heart. My mood at the moment. Pu Deshuang closed his eyes and suddenly heaved a long sigh. It's as uncomfortable as eating sh*t, especially when this sh*t is yours. Hui Yunfeng burst out laughing. His laughter sounded like a pig's squeal, very harsh to the ears. The other two deacons looked at Hui Yunfeng fiercely as if they were looking at the enemy who had killed their father and taken away their wife. If looks could kill, Hui Yunfeng would have been dead more than 100,000 times by now. This old bastard, Hui Yunfeng, is really despicable. Chapter 1139. It had nothing to do with us, but you provoked us like a mad dog. In the end, we also bet 500 pieces of supreme-grade spiritual jade each. If we lost in the end, each of us would have to pay him 3,000 pieces of supreme-grade spiritual jade. 3,000 pieces of supreme-grade spiritual jade. Both men's hearts twitched at the thought of this number. Hui Yunfeng. One of them gritted his teeth. You're inhuman. You're a beast, an inhumane beast. Hui Yunfeng chuckled and said, luck, it's just luck. Whether you're a man or a beast, as long as you're lucky. Ha ha ha, he could not hold back the joy in his heart and burst out laughing. He was so overjoyed that he did not even take it seriously when he was scolded as a beast in front of his face. The three of them fixed their eyes on him at the same time. In just a moment, the hatred in their eyes made Hui Yunfeng, who was an experienced martial artist, shudder with fear. His joy instantly faded and was replaced by fear and panic. Ahem. Hui Yunfeng hurriedly stopped laughing and said embarrassedly, the winner hasn't been decided yet. So far, Residents of 9 Supremes has only won 2 matches and tied 1, and they still have chances to win 2 more matches. Perhaps, Residents of 9 Supremes is only strong in the beginning, but not in the later stages. Pu Deshuang's face darkened as he said, given your temperament and character, do you think you'll give us any leeway to make a comeback with such a sharp eye? Hui Yunfeng blinked and said, Brother Pu, we've been brothers for thousands of years. How can you doubt me like this? You can ask around. Do you think I'm that kind of person? When I suggested the bet, I didn't forbid you from betting on Residents of 9 Supremes, did I? Besides, I didn't expect that Residents of 9 Supremes would actually, ha ha ha. Towards the end, he really couldn't hold it in any longer and laughed again. His laughter was so degrading that it really was annoying and irreconcilable. Pu Deshuang spat out a mouthful of blood and said with a dark face, Hui Yunfeng, when this matter is over, I've decided to make a breakthrough in my realm. I want you to spar with me in the 10,000 arena. We're brothers, and we've been friends for thousands of years. You won't refuse my request, will you? Hui Yunfeng, Hui Daliang, the two of us are also in urgent need of breakthroughs, so we shouldn't bother 2 hosts. You should do it too. You won't refuse a friend's request, will you? Hui Yunfeng's laughter came to an abrupt halt. His face turned ghastly pale as he said in horror, I have something to do. Heh, just tell me if you're going to help or not. Pu Deshuang glared at him with a black face. The corners of Hui Yunfeng's mouth twitched. He looked at the 3 people in front of him and suddenly said, 100 yuan. 100 yuan per person. The 3 of them sneered at the same time. 200 yuan per person. He continued to sneer coldly, and his expression became even colder. 500 yuan per person. Any more, and I'd rather fight you in the 10,000 arena. I'd rather be beaten up by you for a month. Hui Yunfeng gnashed his teeth, his heart bleeding as he made his final offer. You've lost your mind. Even if you don't want a single piece of spirit jade now and give it all to us, including your own, we won't accept it. Pu Deshuang's eyes were like copper bells. The only thing I want now is to beat you for a month and fulfill your good name as a brother. I want you to be truly famous in the world and live up to your name. Hui Yunfeng said with a bitter face, Brother Pu, please reconsider." Pu Deshuang gritted his teeth and said word by word, "Pu Deshuang, have always regarded money as dirt." Puff! Before he could finish, he spat out another mouthful of blood out of heartache. "In any case, I'm going to beat you to death. The spirit jades I lose to you can be considered the money you earned from selling your life." Hui Yunfeng was dumbfounded, and a chill ran down his spine. "This time, it seems I've gone too far." The 10,000 arena was a specially designed arena for executives to temper themselves when they made a breakthrough in their realms. Usually, they would invite their best friends to accompany them and exert pressure on them to make a breakthrough. The effect was almost the same as the real thing, but there was no real danger. But if only one person was invited, then the invited person would have to live in purgatory for a month. This was because the person in the middle of a breakthrough would have no consciousness at all and would only fight based on instinct and intuition. Moreover, he would be in a state of epiphany, so his fighting strength would be almost completely different from usual. He would be able to exert at least 30% of his own power, and even if his strength was about the same, he would be suppressed by his opponent for a month. Moreover, he would have to suffer the most severe beating during the final breakthrough. Hui Yunfeng thought for a long time before he finally made up his mind. He gritted his teeth and stamped his foot. "Fine. I'll agree to all of them. It's just 1 month for each person, right? I can collect more than 10,000 top-grade spirit jades if I get beaten up for 3 months. Damn it, even the great commander doesn't have that kind of wealth. I'll do it." This was a classic case of risking one's life over wealth. The three of them froze at the same time when they heard this. Seeing that Hui Yunfeng was terrified, the three of them originally wanted to use this opportunity to scare him and make him pay off most of his gambling debts. Previously, when he said that he wouldn't want anything even if he gave them to them, it was just a matter of loyalty at first, and then it was a complete threat. As long as Hui Yunfeng said, "I'll give each of you 3. I don't need to give each of you 3,000, just 2,000 will do." Even if it was 1,500, they would immediately give up and say, "It's a deal." However, this guy didn't play by the rules at all. He would rather be trampled on for 3 months than give up this windfall. This result completely stunned Pu Deshuang and the other two. "Damn it! What's the point of me beating you for a month? Can I beat you for a month? Can I beat you back my top-grade spirit jades?" For a moment, the three of them fell into an extremely gloomy atmosphere. But even though they were gloomy, they still had to do what they had to do. On the other side, Duan Tianchong went up to the stage with a dark face. His boastful words earlier were still ringing in their ears. He said that he was confident that he would win only 3 matches, but in the end, he lost 2 of the 3 matches and drew 1. Was he confident that he would win? It was obvious that he was not. Moreover, this result also meant that in the original 5 matches, even if the 7 Stars sect won the remaining 2 matches, it would still be a draw. Pu Deshuang had just said that his mood was as if he had eaten shit, but in fact, Duan Tianchong's mood was as if he had eaten shit. Pu Deshuang had lost, but he only lost spiritual jades. However, 7 Stars sect had lost and would be knocked down to the middle grade. Moreover, judging from the power of residents of 9 Supremes, the gap between them would only be greater after 3 years. In other words, it would be difficult for 7 Stars sect to return to the ranks of middle-grade celestial luck banners for a long time. Such a blow was not small. Sect leader Duan. Pu Deshuang looked at Duan Tianchong as if he was looking at his father's murderer. He gritted his teeth and said, "Sect leader Duan, a middle-grade Tianyun sect has actually been defeated in the challenge of a lower-grade sect. You've set a precedent for our Sacred Heart Palace in the past 13,000 years. Should I congratulate you for becoming the chief disciple of a lower-grade celestial luck banner?" Chapter 1140. Duan Tianchong's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot. The battle is not over. We still have a chance. Pu Deshuang snorted. What chance do we have? Do you dare to fight with their sect leader? Duan Tianchong's expression darkened further, so much so that it was almost glowing. Pu Deshuang's words were extremely harsh. Yun Yang, as the sect leader, had killed the top expert on his side. How could he dare to challenge the other party to a supreme leader battle? We still have the battle of disciples and the battle of freedom. Duan Tianchong gritted his teeth. The fourth round, the disciple battle. The disciples of the residents of 9 Supremes are obviously more than a level lower than the 7 Stars sect. We will definitely not lose this battle. As soon as he said this, Hui Yunfeng, who was at the side, immediately exclaimed. His shoulders suddenly shook, and his face instantly bloomed like a flower. His sudden laughter immediately attracted everyone's attention. Hui Yunfeng hastily turned around and pinched his thigh hard until the root of his thigh was bruised. Only then did he manage to suppress his joyful and celebratory mood. Pu Deshuang turned his head suspiciously and saw Hui Yunfeng's smiling face. Brother Hui, what do you think? Hui Yunfeng said indifferently, it's just a deathbed struggle. It's all futile and meaningless. I can almost say with certainty that the 7 Stars sect's defeat is inevitable. No matter who it is, they will lose without a doubt. Duan Tianchong's face was instantly filled with rage, and his eyes were filled with a murderous glint. Pu Deshuang said solemnly, Sect Master Duan, you have to think it through. If you lose this fight, your 7 Stars sect won't have any leeway. Duan Tianchong gritted his teeth. We definitely won't lose the disciple battle. Pu Deshuang said, in that case, I will announce it. Duan Tian cupped his hands and left with a dark expression. The fourth match, the disciple battle. Pu Deshuang announced loudly. In his view, this was indeed a chance for the 7 Stars sect to make a comeback. It was true that the disciples of the residents of 9 Supremes were gifted and intelligent, but it was also a fact that they were young and their cultivation base was lacking. If he was 2 to 3 cultivation realms higher than the other party, he might still have lost. At least in Pu Deshuang's view, the 7 Stars sect could only commit collective suicide. This time, the 7 Stars sect sent out their sect leader disciple. He was also the leader of the 7 Stars Confluence team. Currently, he was already at the pinnacle of the first stage Saint Realm. His name is Zong Chengji. At this moment, he held a long sword in his hand and walked out with a solemn expression. The honor and disgrace of the sect, the foundation of 1,000 years, at this moment, all of it was on their shoulders. The pressure in Zong Chengji's heart was undoubtedly huge. I won't lose. I definitely won't lose. Zong Chengji gritted his teeth and secretly said to himself. On residents of 9 Supreme side, Yun Xiaoxin's clear voice rang out, Master, I request to fight. Yun Yang frowned as if he could not make up his mind. Yun Xiaoxin said aloud, I know I'm no match for that senior brother, but as the leader of all the disciples, how can I not take the lead in this battle? Especially when I have my mystical beast to assist me. There is still a glimmer of hope in this battle. If I can't do it, then the other junior brothers and sisters. I'm afraid. Yun Yang's expression was solemn as he said, Very well, you shall fight then. Yun Xiaoxin's clear voice rang out from afar, Lord Steward, I have tamed mystical beasts to assist me. Can I fight together with them? This was the rule of, yes. Yun Xiaoxin's question was immediately answered with an affirmative answer, yes. The others were also smiling. How strong could a Xian beast tamed by a teenage girl like you be? Even if the human and the beast worked together and fought side by side, it would still be useless. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Yun Xiaoxin, dressed in white and holding a small snow-white pom-pom in her arms, walked out with her head held high. As she walked out, she said softly, Bye-bye, don't be afraid later. Come with me and fight the bad guys. in her arms, everyone looked over and saw a small, fist-sized kitten in her arms with a satisfied look on its face. It purred contentedly, and when it heard the little lass's words, it actually opened its mouth and meowed in a childish voice. Almost all the people present felt dizzy at the same time. F***ck. We thought you were going to bring some mighty mystical beast to fight. So, it's just a toy. What are you doing? The reason why it was almost was because Hui Yunfeng was also in the grandstand. When he saw the scene, he looked confident. He knew very well what the truth of the little furball was. If it had not been for the little furball, residents of 9 Supremes might not have been able to advance to the middle-class celestial luck banner so smoothly. It was indeed fate and luck. Pu Deshuang put one hand on his forehead and said with a wry smile, I thought the little girl would bring some kind of magical mystical beast after claiming that she had a mystical beast to assist her and that there was a slim chance of survival. I didn't expect it to be a cute creature. In fact, it makes sense when I think about it. Don't all little girls like cute creatures? But the higher-ups of residents of 9 Supremes are too irresponsible. How could they be so childish at such a critical moment? They don't even try to dissuade her. They are really too young, hee. Maybe residents of 9 Supremes has given up. Hui Yunfeng squinted and smiled. Cute creature. I can guarantee that this adorable thing will give you a big surprise, my friend. I was thinking the same thing as you, old friend. Clad in white, Yun Xiaofan strode into the battlefield with the kitten in her arms, her fair skin and jade-like bones. However, it did not look like she was going to the battlefield, but a little girl taking her pet for an outing. On the 7 Stars sect side, everyone was beaming with joy, thinking that victory was in their grasp. Even Duan Tianchong, the sect leader, was thinking that residents of 9 Supremes must have given up this battle, and the little girl would at most just go through the motions. Perhaps, she would admit defeat as soon as the battle began. In the arena, Zhong Chengji's tense nerves could not help but relax in the face of such a situation. After the previous battle, Zhong Chengji had a very high opinion of Yun Xiaofan, but her real strength was still far inferior to his. Even if she attacked herself, she might not be able to do anything to him. After all, the gap between them was not just a little bit, but a whole level. The gap between them could be said to be as wide as heaven and earth. But now, the little girl was behaving like a cute creature, and with the kitten in her arms, she was even more adorable. In the face of such an opponent, Zhong Chengji had a subtle feeling that it was an unfair victory. Junior sister Yun, please. Zhong Chengji cupped his fist politely. Senior brother Zhong, please, Yun Xiaofan said softly. The scene made the 7 Stars sect's people even happier. On the side of residents of 9 Supremes, the higher-ups looked as calm as a mountain, but the juniors were all speechless. Eldest senior sister, you've overdone your act. Genius 1 second to remember this website's address, mobile version, M. Chapter 1141. Yun Xiaofan was the leader of the first-generation disciples of residents of 9 Supremes, and she had always regarded herself as the eldest senior sister. Other than behaving like a little girl in front of Yun Yang and other masters, this little girl was even tougher than a tough girl in front of others. But now, she was so gentle in the battle, which was shocking. Hu Xiaofan even muttered again and again, damn, it's over, it's over. This acting isn't good, it's too fake. I'm getting goosebumps all over. Pardon me. On the other side, Zhong Chengji held his sword in his hand and was about to soar into the air. Obviously, he wanted to finish this battle as soon as possible. Yun Xiaofan took a step back and put the kitten in her arms on the ground. Bye-bye, remember to scratch him when the fight begins, she said softly. Meow, meow. If you can't handle it, run back. Don't be careless. You have to give it your all. Meow. I'm so afraid that I'll hurt you. Meow. Zhong Chengji didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Junior sister Yun, you mean, you don't plan to fight me personally? Yun Xiaofan took a step back and said, yes, isn't it enough for me to let my Bai fight you? Zhong Chengji was speechless. What? This little thing? Yeah. Yun Xiaofan smiled cutely and said, if even Bai loses, I'll give it to him. If you can defeat Bai, I'll admit defeat and keep my promise. Whitey raised its head and meowed proudly, raising its tiny front paw and waving at Yun Xiaofan in a very human-like manner. You know, right? Don't worry, just go and watch the show. Therefore, Yun Xiaofan retreated 100 feet back with ease. Zhong Chengji had a helpless expression on his face. Looking at the adorable little creature squatting on the ground in front of him, a sense of absurdity rose in his heart. I'm going to fight with this little guy, sigh. With a clang, the long sword suddenly let out a soft cry. Although there was nothing he could do, he still had to fight. Even though he knew that the residents of 9 Supremes had decided to give up, he still had to win beautifully under the watchful eyes of the public. Amidst the sword flowers, a loud shout could be heard, I'm coming to attack. He leaped down, and rushed down. Yes, it was to charge down. That cute little thing was too small. It was barely at the height of his ankle. He had to bend down to hit it. At this moment, Zhong Chengji felt that he was too cold-blooded and too tyrannical. He actually dared to lay his hands on such a cute little thing. He would definitely not be popular with girls in the future. The next moment, Whitey let out a meow. It was soft and cute, but its meow was enough to melt everyone's heart. However, when everyone in the spectator stands heard this, they all let out a collective gasp of surprise. This was because, at the same time that the little white thing let out a soft moan, it suddenly became bigger. In the blink of an eye, it had become a colossus that was at least 100 feet tall. Its 4 claws were like pillars supporting the sky. It opened its bloody mouth and bit down on Zhong Chengji, who was charging towards it. Yes. The little fellow had opened its mouth in advance before its body enlarged. Since Zhong Chengji and Whitey were already very close to each other, after its enlargement, the little fellow's mouth lifted a few feet above the ground. Its mouth was wider than the city gate, so swallowing Zhong Chengji into its mouth was only a matter of course. Its sharp teeth closed up and down, puff. Blood gushed out. At this moment, there was only cold-bloodedness and brutality. Who knew if there would still be little girls who would like this cute thing? Zhong Chengji from the 7 Stars sect was dead. He died a clean death. With one bite, he was bitten into 2. Then, Whitey spat out the corpse from its mouth in disgust. Meow, it was so stinky. Including Pu Deshuang and all the sects that ranked in the top few middle-class celestial luck banners. Everyone's mouth fell open, and their eyes widened as if they had seen a ghost. After a long, long time, a cracking sound could be heard. That was the sound of dislocated jaws. What the? That Daluo sect's junior sister Yu's eyes widened. What? What's going on? It seems like it directly rushed into the giant beast's mouth and was eaten. Is he committing suicide or something? I'm waiting to see them fight. This, my goodness, such a cute little thing, but its true form is actually such a huge beast. Judging from the pressure it emitted just now, this mystical beast is at least a Saint King level. Just now, I was so scared that my little heart almost exploded. Such a cute little kitten, I should have held it in my arms and played with it, but it was treated like that. The next moment, when it opened its mouth, its fangs were thicker than my waist. When it closed its mouth, my God, at this moment, Duan Tianchong from the 7 Stars sect felt that the sky had turned dark. At that moment, the world spun around him, making him feel hopeless. He sat on his seat in a daze, and everything in front of him turned black and white. Even Zhong Chengji returned to his original state. When he came in front of him, Duan Tianchong was still in a daze, and his body could not help but continuously tremble. Lost. Finished. Completely finished. The foundation passed down from generation to generation, the glory and treatment of thousands of years of middle-rank celestial luck banner, were all gone. He wanted to curse, he wanted to go crazy, but he knew that all these useless actions would be of no use. Besides, he couldn't blame his own disciple for this defeat. At present, he was only a saint-level expert, moreover, he was only a first-grade saint. It was simply too difficult for him to deal with that Saint-King-level mystical beast. Even if he self-detonated, he might not be able to hurt the opponent, not to mention the opponent had pretended to sneak attack from the beginning. How could he not be defeated? He deserved to be defeated. Like their sect leader, the entire Seven Stars sect looked as if they had lost their parents. On the high platform, Pu Deshuang and the other two people's complexions were not much better than the Seven Stars sect's people. Their faces were deathly pale, as if they had seen a ghost in broad daylight. Their whole body trembled like a sieve. We've lost. This damned Seven Stars sect has lost just like that. It doesn't matter if you've lost, but the total of 10,000 supreme-grade spiritual jades that we've lost have also been lost. Those are supreme-grade spiritual jades. They're supreme-grade spiritual jades that even upper-class sects don't have and rarely seen. They're almost supreme-grade treasures that only the Sacred Heart Palace has, and they're not open to the public at all. Only people above the level of deacon can enjoy them. Good stuff. Priceless treasures. We've lost 10,000 at once, a whole 10,000. Oh, let me die. On the side, Hui Yunfeng's eyes were wide and his mouth was agape. As if he was talking in a dream, he said, F***ck me, this is too unexpected, too unexpected. Residents of 9 Supremes actually won, and won so cleanly. 3 wins and 1 draw in 4 matches. This is a little too much. I was prepared to lose. This happiness came too suddenly. Chapter 1142. Pu Deshuang glanced at him weakly. What AF** King good show you are putting on? Why are you still putting on an act now? Who are you putting on an act for? When I cripple you, I'll sell you to the troupe without a second thought. At least in a few days, a famous actor will be born. But now, he could not even muster up the energy to be angry with him. A loss was a loss. No matter how much he cursed, it was still too late. He had lost in the end. Pu Deshuang laughed bitterly and shouted, Residents of 9 Supremes has won the challenge to the middle-class celestial luck banner. Sect leader Yun Yang, you've tied in the second match. It's not a complete victory, so you're not qualified to challenge a higher-ranked sect. We'll stop here for the time being. Do you believe me? Thank you, Deacon Lord. It's already a pleasant surprise for us to be able to ascend to the middle class. It's enough for us. How dare we ask for more? Congratulations to residents of 9 Supremes for ascending to the middle class. Pu Deshuang said loudly. Congratulations to residents of 9 Supremes for ascending to the middle class. The other 8 sects said at the same time. At this moment, almost everyone in the residence of 9 Supremes was grinning, including Luo Dajiang, who had just self-detonated. He was grinning widely and laughing heartily. The other demiurge-flawed 10 brothers were also laughing wildly and dancing with joy. They did not have the slightest image to speak of. A sect with a middle-class celestial luck banner. In the past, we were not even qualified to join a sect with a lower-class celestial luck banner and were repeatedly rejected. But now, we've created a middle-class sect that's even higher than the lower class. As they laughed, everyone's eyes turned red. Everyone had the same thought. Everyone thought about their past experiences, and then thought about the glory they had now. In an instant, everyone felt as if a lifetime had passed, as if they had been reborn. However, no one was more excited than Jiang Luoluo. With a scream, she jumped up and clung to Luo Dajiang's neck. Dajiang, Dajiang. This is great. This is great. You're a middle-class sect now. Wah! Roar! Luo Dajiang's eyes were red. Yes, we're a middle-class sect now. A middle-class sect now. Towards the end, he choked with sobs, leaving only a sigh. On the high platform, Pu Deshuang was still talking, but the residents of 9 Supremes had turned a deaf ear to him. At this moment, great joy filled the hearts of everyone, causing them to be extremely excited and unable to restrain themselves. Even though Yun Yang had long been prepared, he was still infected by the joyous atmosphere, feeling inexplicably elated. Pu Deshuang's words were very realistic. 7 Stars Sect, you have lost the qualification to stay here. Please leave the spectator stand of the middle-class sects and take your seats at the residence of 9 Supremes. Everyone in the 7 Stars Sect stared at the residence of 9 Supremes, who was celebrating with eyes that were spitting fire. There was only the most deep-rooted hatred in everyone's eyes. The residence of 9 Supremes. The residence of 9 Supremes. Good, good, good. Let's wait and see. 3 years later, we will definitely make a comeback. We will never let you go. With a smile on his face, Hui Yunfeng put away the interspatial ring filled with supreme-grade spirit jades and said complacently, Brother Pu, can I take these first? The muscles on Pu Deshuang's face twitched, and a fierce gleam flashed in his eyes. Hui Yunfeng said, Brother Pu, we are brothers. You still owe me 3,000 spirit jades. Is that correct? Pu Deshuang looked like he wanted to devour someone. Hui Yunfeng said, and you too, brothers, each of you owes me 2,500 spirit jades. Don't worry about giving them to me. I'm really not in a hurry. I'll pay you a visit when I return to Sacred Heart Palace. Ha 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 ha. The two men glared at Hui Yunfeng with inexplicable grief and indignation. Their hands and feet were trembling, and their eyes were glinting fiercely. Ahem, Brother Pu, I still have official business to deal with, so I have to take the 7 Stars Sect to the lower-class sect first. There are still people waiting to challenge the 7 Stars Sect to become the chief disciple of the lower-class sect. The 7 Stars Sect has little hope of making a comeback in 3 years, and the Golden Cauldron Sect waiting to be challenged over there is also a tough opponent. Hui Yunfeng laughed. He seemed to feel a lot lighter. Without waiting for Pu Deshuang's reply, he flew away as light as a feather. At this moment, Hui Yunfeng felt that today was the best day in his life. Looking at Hui Yunfeng's back, the 3 men behind him were still glaring at him. They wanted to skin him alive, but they could not vent the anger in their hearts. Don't stop me, big brother. When I get back, I'll definitely beat Hui Yunfeng until his mother can't recognize him. I won't stop you. Just remember to tell me before you do it, and I'll help you. Pu Deshuang's qi and blood were surging in his heart. He circulated his qi several times before he managed to suppress it and roared, Residents of 9 Supremes, please come to the middle-class grandstand and take your seats. This was the last ceremony, and it was also one that must be completed. A large green flag suddenly rose from a grandstand at the back of the arena. It was the grandstand that originally belonged to the 7 Stars Sect. The green celestial luck flag rose 1,000 feet into the air, and suddenly, its green brilliance shone brightly, illuminating the world with a myriad of colors. Everyone in the residence of 9 Supremes was illuminated by the green light. Then, the green celestial luck banner swayed slowly in the air. First, a small green flag emerged from the large banner and fell from the sky like a meteor, burrowing into Yun Yang's body in a flash. Then, a few smaller green flags went into the bodies of Shi Wuchen, Luo Dajiang, Tai Qingcang, and the others. Then, some smaller flags went into the bodies of Yun Xiaofan and the others one by one. When the small green celestial luck flags were distributed and returned to their respective positions, the huge celestial luck flag shook again. Swoosh! Countless shadows of the celestial luck flags shot in the same direction. That was the direction where the residence of 9 Supremes was located. Then, the green celestial luck flag slowly descended, emitting a green light so strong that it could block all the light and surround all the people in the residence of 9 Supremes. At this moment, the whole grandstand was like a large piece of green jade. In the grandstand, Yun Xiaofan and the other disciples were all beaming with joy. Their chests were puffed out, and their eyes and faces were full of pride and contentment. Yun Yang's gentle voice rang out at the right time, "Today, we have made history. The path of glory for the residence of 9 Supremes will begin from now on. I hope all of you will not be arrogant and rash in the future, work hard as before, and don't forget that today's glory is not easy to come by. Don't let down the countless hardships in the past. I will obey Master's teaching. I will never forget it." The green celestial luck banner hovered above the residence of 9 Supreme stand for 2 whole hours. Everyone, including Yun Yang, felt that the meridians in their bodies had been purified by the green light and benefited greatly from it. Everyone seemed to be in high spirits and brimming with health and vigor. Chapter 1143. The eyes of the people in the surrounding stands were full of envy, jealousy, and hatred. The blessing of luck obtained when one ascended the platform for the first time was a benefit that could not be replicated. Only Gan Tianyan and Ping Zhenyue from Phoenix Cry sect were beaming with joy. Luo really has a unique insight. The boy that neither of us thought highly of has now become the 3rd person in the residence of 9 Supremes, a sect with a middle-class celestial luck banner. From now on, his future is promising and limitless. After all, as the number 3 figure of a sect, he was a genuine founding elder. The celestial luck banner's blessing that he enjoyed was not only different from ordinary disciples, but he even had a great advantage over the other senior members who had entered the sect later. Luo Dajiang's aptitude was good to begin with, and after this baptism, his future would be smoother. No one would doubt him anymore. Moreover, Jiang Luo had followed Luo Dajiang up to the residence of 9 Supreme stand. The green light must have helped her out of love and shared this great benefit with her. This result was simply a great opportunity, it couldn't be any better. However, the eyes of Phoenix Cry sect's top disciple, Qi Lai, were fixed on the residence of 9 Supreme's grandstand, which was shrouded in green light. Although he could not see through it, what he saw in his heart was still the detestable Luo Dajiang of the past. "Luo Dajiang, I'll kill you." After a while, He Shan Song, the leader of Daluo sect, looked surprised and puzzled. He turned his head and asked, "Lord Deacon, in the past, when one ascended the celestial luck banner for the first time, there would be a baptism, but this process could only last for less than a quarter of an hour at most. Why did the residents of 9 Supreme stay for so long this time? Is there anything wrong with it?" Pu Deshuang's weak voice rang out, "Nothing is wrong. The situation of the residents of 9 Supremes is completely different from yours, so it naturally deserves this honor." "What's the difference?" All the people from the sects pricked up their ears. They were all indignant. "How is it different? It's nothing more than advancing from the first place of a lower-class celestial luck banner, but isn't that how the last place of a middle-class celestial luck banner came? The ascension of the celestial luck banner and the change of ranking are all done step by step." Pu Deshuang said, "As for the residents of 9 Supremes, it has only been less than a year since it was founded. In other words, this is their first expedition to the celestial luck banner." "First time?" Apart from Ping Zhenyue, the other 7 sect leaders all widened their eyes. He Shan Song stammered, "Do you mean that, before today, residents of 9 Supremes was not the chief disciple of a lower-class celestial luck banner, and it did not even possess one?" Pu Deshuang cheered up and said, "That's right, that's exactly what I mean. 4 to 5 days ago, Residents of Nine Supremes was not even a lower-class sect, but in these few days, they have advanced 3 times in a day and ascended to the top of the lower-class celestial luck banner, and today, they have leaped to the middle class. They have leaped 10 positions in total. That's why the celestial luck banner has stayed here for such a long time, a whole 2 hours. To be honest, it hasn't been around for a long time." Everyone was dumbfounded. It had only been established for less than a year. It advanced all the way until it reached the middle rank. What did this mean? Well, this was not the point. The point was that the difference between staying here for 2 hours and staying here for a quarter of an hour was like heaven and earth. When the celestial luck banner stayed here for a quarter of an hour, they all had the benefit of having their meridians purified and their meridians slightly loosened. Now that the benefit had stayed here for 2 hours, did it not mean that the people of the Residents of Nine Supremes were going to be reborn and reborn? This was simply, all the sect leaders had the same thought at the same time, the future of the Residents of Nine Supremes would be unstoppable and limitless. After a while, the green light of the celestial luck banner that shrouded the Residents of Nine Supremes gradually began to dissipate. Ping Zhanyue, the leader of the Phoenix Cry sect, stood up abruptly and said, "Disciples, follow me to congratulate them." As soon as the leader gave the order, the people of the Phoenix Cry sect naturally stood up together, carrying out strict orders. Only Qi Lai lowered his head and said stubbornly, "Master, the Residents of Nine Supremes is only a sect that has just been promoted to the middle rank. What right does it have to trouble you to go there personally? We are the second in rank of the middle rank, or perhaps we will be the first in rank of the middle rank soon. It is enough for the disciples to go and greet them." Ping Zhanyue gave him a stern look. "Qi Lai, keep your thoughts to yourself. Today, if you lose face for the sect, do you know the consequences?" Qi Lai trembled suddenly and said respectfully, "Yes." When he looked up, he saw that the leader of the Daluo sect had already walked out with the sect's higher-ups and disciples. With a smile on his face, he floated toward the stand of the Residents of Nine Supremes. While the master and disciple were arguing, he had gone to congratulate them first. As he looked around, the other 6 sects had all stood up and walked over without exception. At this moment, Qi Lai's thoughts were completely blank. Was it necessary? Was it necessary to be so grand? Every sect was personally led by a sect leader. This was the first time in my life that I had seen such treatment. How could the Residents of Nine Supremes be so good? It was just the momentary luck of a group of rascals. How could it last? As he thought about it, he felt someone beside him pull him. When he looked up, he saw that his leader had already led the group hundreds of feet away. He was looking back at him in disappointment, his eyes cold. Qi Lai took a deep breath and quickly followed, but he felt a myriad of emotions in his heart. For a moment, he did not know what he was thinking. Lost, he followed instinctively. "Congratulations, sect leader Yun. You have ascended to the middle rank. The legend has just begun, and it is truly a wonder." He Shansong, the leader of the Daluo sect, smiled amiably. "I am He Shansong, the leader of the Daluo sect. This is my uncle master, and the one beside him is my uncle master. This is my senior brother, this is my junior brother, and this is my good-for-nothing disciple." Yun Yang was gentle and elegant as he cupped his fists to greet them one by one. "Welcome, sect leader He. The Residents of Nine Supremes is honored by your presence, and I am flattered. All of you are seniors. I am new here, so it is only right for me to ask for your guidance. In the days to come, I hope that sect leader He will guide me and guide me." You flatter me, you flatter me." He Shansong laughed. "May the Daluo sect and the Residents of Nine Supremes be brothers forever, and have friendly relations for generations to come." "Yes, sect leader He, you are too polite. I appreciate your kindness. Congratulations, sect leader Yun. Ping Zhanyue walked over. Ping Zhanyue of the Phoenix Cry sect congratulates sect leader Yun. Chapter 1144. Jiang Luo, who was at the back, introduced in a low voice with a happy face, "This is my uncle master sect leader. This is my master. This is my uncle master." Yun Yang's face was full of flattery. He took a step forward and bowed. "Oh, sect leader Ping is our senior. We should go and greet you, but you've come all the way here. This is very rude of us." Ping Zhenyue and Gan Tianyan's faces beamed like flowers. The residents of Nine Supreme's attitude towards Phoenix Cry sect was obviously different from that of other sections. It seemed that Luo Luo was quite useful. "Sect leader Yun, you're too polite. We're all family, so there's no need to be rude." Ping Zhenyue and Gan Tianyan's gazes changed after hearing Yun Yang's words. They looked at Yun Yang and the others with more intimacy. "This is our residence of Nine Supreme's second Supreme, Supreme Sword, Shi Wuchen, and this is Dajiang. Why haven't you come and greet the seniors yet?" Yun Yang greeted him with a laugh. Luo Dajiang took a step forward and said, "Greetings, sect leader Ping, senior Gan." Greetings. Luo Dajiang had never bowed so many times in his life. Now that he had greeted all the sect leaders of Phoenix Cry sect, there was only joy in his heart. The obstacle between me and Luo Luo is finally gone. Ping Zhenyue stared at Luo Dajiang with a gratified look in her eyes. She looked him up and down and said, "Luo Luo has a good eye. Your eyes are as bright as a torch, and you have someone to rely on. Dajiang, I've misjudged you. Dajiang, please don't blame us for being blind and failing to recognize you." This sentence was basically equivalent to an apology for obstructing him previously. Luo Dajiang cleared his throat and said, "The sect leader is a senior, and he always looks at the big picture and plans for the juniors he admires. His thoughts are all long-term. Not only is it reasonable, but it is also compassionate. We juniors can only be grateful. I'm really touched and happy, and I don't have any other thoughts." "Good, good, good." Ping Zhanyue nodded repeatedly, her smile deepening. At this moment, Qi Lai looked at Jiang Luo Luo, who was holding Luo Dajiang's arm with a shy and happy face, and suddenly felt a pain in his heart as if it was cut by a knife. An indescribable unwillingness rushed up to him, and his eyes turned red in an instant. He took a step forward and bellowed, "Luo Dajiang. You found a good master now, haven't you? In my opinion, he's just a servant of the residents of Nine Supremes. What qualifications do you have to stand here and laugh? You're just a clown who relies on your master's power." These earth-shattering and abrupt words caused the expressions of everyone present to instantly change, and they were stunned for a moment. However, at this moment, Qi Lai was filled with jealousy and hatred. He also knew that he no longer had any hope of winning Jiang Luolua's heart. His years of bitter love had turned into nothing. At this moment, his disappointment and anger had gone to his head. He blurted out words of anger, completely disregarding the consequences. Ping Zhenyue and Gan Tianyan's expressions darkened. The expressions of the other elders and disciples of Phoenix Cry sect changed as well. It was supposed to be a good time for everyone to be happy and harmonious. What did he mean by jumping out like this? Was he trying to stir up trouble? Qi Lai's identity as the chief disciple of Phoenix Cry sect and his unscrupulous words just now were indeed enough to turn the two sects into enemies. Qi Lai was almost the first candidate of the next generation of Phoenix Cry sect, and his desire was far greater than that of the others in Phoenix Cry sect. However, Phoenix Cry sect leader Ping Zhanyue only felt that she had lost face. Her face had actually been slapped by her own direct disciple. She was instantly enraged. Just as she was about to scold Jiang Luoluo, she heard Jiang Luoluo scream, "Qi Lai, what do you mean by this? Do you want to die?" To Luo Dujiang, this moment was a yearning, and to Jiang Luoluo, it was the dream of her life. Now that Qi Lai had jumped out to stir up trouble and shattered her dream with a single word, how could Jiang Luoluo let it go? For the first time, the girl was filled with killing intent. Luo Dujiang was also filled with killing intent. He looked up abruptly at Qi Lai, his eyes full of coldness. Qi Lai was furious again, and he had completely lost his mind. He drew his sword and shouted, "Luo Dujiang, do you dare to fight me one-on-one and see who is Luoluo's man?" As soon as he said that, all the disciples of residents of 9 Supremes were furious and eager to fight. They could not believe that someone dared to insult their master, Uncle Master, in front of them. They all took a step forward. Yun Yang's expression remained unchanged as he shouted in a deep voice, "What do you want to do? The elders are having a discussion here, so how can you step forward? You are all a bunch of unruly attackers. Step back now." At the same time, Ping Jinyue's face was as cold as ice as she shouted, "Step back." Yun Xiaoxin and the other disciples bowed their heads at the same time. "We dare not." Following that, they retreated 3 steps in unison, not daring to utter a single word as they trembled in fear. Qi Lai, on the other hand, was still flushed and his eyes were bloodshot. Ignoring his master's advice, he took a step forward and said sternly, "Luo Dujiang. Don't you dare? Are you still a man?" At this moment, Ping Jinyue's face turned purple. At this moment, she was so ashamed that she could not show her face anymore. When the disciples of residents of 9 Supremes rushed forward, the sect leader ordered them to step back, and all the disciples retreated like kittens, not daring to make a sound or even breathe loudly. However, when she asked them to step back, her disciples did not seem to have heard her and continued to rush forward. This was more than a clear judgment of who was superior, it was a complete disgrace to her. "How dare you?" Gan Tianyan was also embarrassed. What Qi Lai was doing now was treating Jiang Luoluo like a prize, and whoever won would take her away. Where did this put Jiang Luoluo and Gan Tianyan, Jiang Luoluo's master? On the other side, He Shan Song, the sect leader of Daluo sect, chuckled and said respectfully, "Sect leader Yun, you are very strict in restraining your disciples. I admire you. The disciples of your residents are all very cultured, and I'm really envious of them." This sentence was like an even louder and heavier slap to Ping Jinyue's face. If the disciples of residents of 9 Supremes were cultured, then that meant, my disciple was not cultured. She was about to explode. However, Yun Yang was 1 step ahead of her. He looked at Qi Lai and said amiably, "May I ask who this is?" Ping Jinyue's face darkened. She held back her anger that was about to explode and said, "This is my disciple, cough, he is representing our sect today, and his qi is damaged, causing his mind to be a little muddled. He probably doesn't even know what he's saying or doing. Qi Lai. Hurry up and apologize to sect leader Yun." Ping Jinyue was clearly spouting nonsense with a straight face. She was just trying to find a way for her disciple to step down from the stage. After all, Qi Lai was her successor. If she could, she really didn't want to give him up. Even if Qi Lai was no longer qualified to inherit the position of Phoenix Cry sect leader after today, he was still a trump card of Phoenix Cry sect in the future. If she could turn the situation around, it would be better. "You've been working hard this month, haven't you? GT. Chapter 1145. Qi Lai panted heavily, his eyes bloodshot as he glared at Luo Dujiang. Only then did he turn to look at Yun Yang. As he stared, it seemed that Yun Yang's face had turned into Luo Dujiang's again, sneering at him. Hysterically, he exploded again, "Luo is mine. Fight me if you're not convinced. Snatch her from me." All the disciples of the Phoenix Cry sect looked at him in horror. Eldest senior brother, you are really awesome today. You have disobeyed Master's orders several times in a row. Not only once, but also 3 times. What do you want to do? Did he really not want to think about it anymore? Luo is mine. Qi Lai roared in grief and indignation, who the hell is Luo Dajiang? He's just a slave of the residents of 9 Supremes, and I find it shameful that he's so happy to be a slave. Luo can't waste her life because of such a person. I must kill him. Luo Dajiang is the residence of 9 Supreme slave? TSK. I really don't know how you understand this. I only know that Luo Dajiang is the 3rd most influential person in the residence of 9 Supremes and the 3rd elder of this newly founded sect. Among the top 10 disciples who are going to fight this time, 2 of them are his disciples, so he must be one of the founders of the residence of 9 Supremes. Yun Yang's gaze was as sharp as a knife. May I ask what kind of person Qi Lai is in the Phoenix Cry sect? Is there anyone who can inherit it now? Do you have any say in the Phoenix Cry sect? I can say that Luo Dajiang's words carry a lot of weight in the residence of 9 Supremes. Qi Lai roared. Suddenly, he was speechless. It was obvious that Yun Yang's every word had hit the nail on the head. All his slanderous words about Luo Dajiang had been refuted in a flawless manner, which further accentuated his vile thoughts and lack of achievements. Yun Yang's expression was as cold as ice. Luo Dajiang is the 3rd most influential person in the residence of 9 Supremes and the teacher of all the disciples. Yun Yang said faintly, disciples of the residence of 9 Supremes, listen up. The disciples are here. This man insulted your elders in public, which is a great humiliation to the residents of 9 Supremes. This case must be settled. However, today is a joyous day for the residents of 9 Supremes, and it is inauspicious to see blood. Moreover, in this place, even if he killed them, he could still revive them, so he didn't want to waste too much effort. We don't want to argue with him. If his master has something to do, then the disciple will do it for him. However, I hope that in the future, when you succeed in your studies, you will help your elders wash away this humiliation. This is the responsibility of a disciple. We will remember Master's teachings. In this life, we will wipe away this humiliation. The eyes of Yun Xiaoxin and the others were spewing fire as they fixed their gazes on Qi Lai's face, remembering this man. This is the person who insulted our elders. It is this person who chose to provoke us on our joyous day. But today is the residence of 9 Supremes' big day. We don't want to ruin everyone's mood because of trash like you, so we'll let you go for now. However, we'll never let you go in this lifetime. It was him. Yun Yang turned to look at Ping Zhenyue. His smile was still as gentle as before as he said respectfully, today is a joyous day for this humble residence. I do not wish to cause unnecessary trouble. Senior, do you think we should let this matter rest for now? He smiled and said, I'll leave this matter to the younger generation. This is also a good way to promote each other. I believe that Senior will not oppose this little one's suggestion. Younger generation? Yun Yang was the leader of a residence, and his position was on the same level as Ping Zhenyue's, and his disciple was, of course, on the same level as Ping Zhenyue's disciple, Qi Lai. From this point of view, it was reasonable for him to regard Qi Lai as a junior. However, Qi Lai's cultivation base was far above the juniors of the residence of 9 Supremes, and few of the higher-ups of the residence, including Yun Yang, could be his match. As for letting this matter rest? Of course, Ping Zhenyue would be happy to see the matter come to an end. Even now, she was still unwilling to give up on Qi Lai. If she had a choice, she would rather punish Qi Lai severely in front of Yun Yang to remove the knot between them. However, how could she not know the true meaning of solving the matter themselves? Yun Yang was obviously using this matter to set a short-term goal for his disciples to unite against a common enemy. There were even some who wanted to use this incident to plant a seed deep in the hearts of the disciples. In terms of the long-term effect alone, its far-reaching significance had already exceeded countless expectations. As long as any of his disciples succeeded in their cultivation, they could come and find trouble with Qi Lai. What was a good way to promote each other? It was obviously only the residents of Nine Supremes that would promote each other, not the Phoenix Cry sect. She glanced at Qi Lai and saw that he was still indignant and did not take Yun Yang's words seriously at all. Most likely, he would also hate him as well. Ping Zhenyue sighed deeply in her heart. Until now, do you still not understand what you've provoked? Do you still not realize that you're destined to follow in the footsteps of the Demiurge Flawed 10? A whetstone. A whetstone exclusive to all the disciples of the residents of Nine Supremes. Today, you've insulted the residents of Nine Supremes' third-ranked person. From now on, you'll only have the value of being a whetstone, until the day when you, the whetstone, are completely ground flat, broken, and crushed by the disciples of the residents of Nine Supremes. Thinking of this, Ping Zhenyue did not even have the heart to punish Qi Lai anymore. What she could understand, Gan Tianyen could, of course, understand as well. This included all the leaders and higher-ups of the sects who had come to congratulate them. Yun Yang's words seemed to be a joke, and he even pushed the grudge to the younger generation to deal with. He seemed to be generous and only motivated the disciples to improve. In reality, everyone knew that Qi Lai would not live long. Moreover, before he died, he would have to bear the fate of the person he had looked down on the most. With Yun Yang's order, as long as Qi Lai did not die, as long as the residents of Nine Supremes still existed, the disciples of the residents of Nine Supremes who had a high cultivation base would come to find trouble with Qi Lai. Qi Lai would be the first enemy of the disciples of the residents of Nine Supremes, a target that they had to eliminate. Imagine the humiliation that Qi Lai had suffered at the residents of Nine Supremes' most glorious moment. The humiliation at such a time would not end until the enemy was dead, and there was no turning back. Even if Qi Lai died at that time, this matter would still be written into the history of the residents of Nine Supremes' disciples. It would be used to teach the disciples for thousands of years. Therefore, it could be said with certainty that from now on, Qi Lai could be declared to be immortal and recorded in history. At least, he would live forever in the history of the residents of Nine Supremes. Yun Yang's move could not be said to not be vicious. Whether it was now or in the future, it was extremely vicious. Moreover, the Phoenix Cry sect was now determined to be on good terms with the residents of Nine Supremes, and Yun Yang had given this order in front of the sect leader and all the higher-ups of the sect. The cause of this matter was Qi Lai's own fault, seeking his own death. No one could deny this. Since he had done something wrong, it was reasonable for him to be punished accordingly. Ping Zhenyue could not object today, let alone plead for mercy, but today was the only chance for him to turn things around. If he missed this day, everything would be irreparable. If Yun Yang had beaten Qi Lai up today, even if he had crippled him, this matter would have been over. However, Yun Yang had directly dismissed it as a mischievous act of a junior, nailing this topic to death. Now, there was no way to turn things around. Sect leader Yun is indeed far-sighted. Ping Zhenyue let out a long sigh. He Shansong, the leader of the Daluo sect, also gave Yun Yang a deep look. The leader of the residents of Nine Supremes was young, but he was very experienced and ruthless. He had made a prompt decision and hit the target with a single strike. The higher-ups of the other sects also wore thoughtful expressions. The sect leader of the residents of Nine Supremes had a clever mind. Qi Lai's provocation just now could be said to have added a thick and heavy stroke to the residents of Nine Supremes' most glorious moment, adding a few more flaws to this infinitely glorious and magnificent performance. This was an extremely embarrassing matter. Even if the entire residents of Nine Supremes were to attack Qi Lai and tear him into pieces, it would not help. Moreover, when everyone was competing to congratulate him, once he lost his composure and flew into a rage, it would definitely damage his social status. However, Yun Yang had reduced this matter into a small one with a few casual words. No matter how angry and provocative Qi Lai was in the future, there would be people from the Phoenix Cry sect to punish him immediately. In the long run, this matter would inspire generations of the residents of Nine Supreme's disciples. Once Yun Yang's disciples succeeded in taking revenge on Qi Lai, the residents of Nine Supremes would still record this as a major event in the annals of history, forever inspiring the future generations. Such a method was almost like turning stone into gold, turning something rotten into something magical. It was a spectacular and amazing sight. The leaders of the other sects asked themselves if they were in Yun Yang's shoes and in the same situation, they might not be able to do it so perfectly. The Heaven Saber Tower congratulates the residents of Nine Supremes and sect leader Yun. The Frosty Sword Pavilion congratulates the residents of Nine Supremes and sect leader Yun. The Black Mountain Alliance congratulates. Yun Yang smiled and bowed to each of them, expressing his gratitude. He chatted happily with the leaders of the sections. At least, the scene was harmonious. Qi Lai of the Phoenix Cry sect wanted to say something, but Gan Tianyen immediately sealed his acupoints and threw him to the back. Don't offend anyone. On the side, Ping Zhenyue murmured in her heart. The way she looked at Qi Lai was also a little strange. She had already come to a conclusion: this disciple could be considered as useless. See, I need to reconsider the candidates for the core disciples of the Phoenix Cry sect. Of course, if he could suppress the residents of Nine Supremes' revenge all the way and finally break through this cage and stand out, he would be a stronger candidate. But what if? Also, his emotions are too extreme. He's narrow-minded and can't be of any use. Infatuation was a good thing, but excessive infatuation, or even impulsive and violent, could bring the sect into the abyss at any time. The leaders of the 8 celestial luck banners all came over to greet him, and Yun Yang greeted them one by one with a warm smile, polite, neither servile nor overbearing, and graceful. He was a modest gentleman, gentle as jade, a young master of the troubled times, unparalleled in this world. Junior Sister Yu of the Daluo sect's eyes lit up when she saw such an elegant young master. The more she looked at him, the more she liked him, and she could not help but clamp her legs together. After a while, she finally took a step forward and asked softly, "Sect leader Yun, have you ever been married?" Yun Yang coughed. The leader of the Daluo sect was exasperated. His lips moved, but he did not say anything. The reason why he Shan Song, the leader of the Daluo sect, did not show up immediately was that he could not do anything to his precious junior sister. Secondly, if his junior sister succeeded, not only would she have a lifetime of support, but the Daluo sect would also be able to gain strong support. The Phoenix Cry sect would not be monopolized, and they might even be better. Yun Yang smiled and said, "May I ask who senior is?" Junior Sister Yu interrupted, "Why are you calling me senior? You can just call me Sister Yu." Yun Yang glanced at He Shan Song of the Daluo sect as if asking for help, but he saw the sect leader turn his face away with his lips twitching. "This young brother is already engaged," Yun Yang answered dryly. "Yes, it doesn't matter. How many do you have?" Junior Sister Yu asked an unexpected question. 2. Yun Yang coughed. 2. Junior Sister Yu said, "Since I can marry 2, it's not a big deal to marry one more." What do you think of me?" Once the words left her mouth, everyone present was dumbfounded and coughing could be heard all at once. This was the first time they had seen such a situation. It was too strange, too bold. Yun Yang could not help but be stunned when he heard this. God! Oh my God! Cough, this is not very appropriate. Yun Yang sighed and said, "My 2 wives are my master's daughters." Sigh, my master. If I were to find another one, I'm afraid this young brother will die tomorrow after finding one today. Junior sister, you said, your master? So what if it's your master? What cultivation base does your master have? He's actually so domineering. Yunyang coughed and said, my master, cough, cough, this. Hearing junior sister Yu's question, everyone's eyes lit up. Leader Yun's origin was mysterious and his identity was a mystery. Hearing about his master out of the blue was obviously a great help in understanding him indirectly. He just didn't know what kind of earth-shattering existence could train such an outstanding disciple. Was it a renowned figure in the bound of universe, or a reclusive expert? Everyone was very interested in this name that was on the verge of being revealed. Yunyang said softly, my master's kindness to me is as high as the sky and as deep as the earth. In a mere 4 years, he's allowed me to achieve what I have today. How can I let down his 2 daughters? When everyone heard this, without exception, all of them were shocked, and their faces were filled with astonishment. A mere 4 years. Everyone heard these 4 words, the most crucial word in this sentence. In a mere 4 years, he could train a monster like Yunyang? Although the crowd could not see Yunyang's real cultivation base level due to the restriction of the 5th peak, from the fact that he could defeat 7 stars Sex Wuyu, his real cultivation base should be at least a 3rd grade Saint King. Looking at the disciples of the residents of 9 Supremes, each of them was as young as a bag of water. The oldest among them was probably very young, but their cultivation base was at least at the level of an honor. In fact, this was not surprising at all. The residents of 9 Supremes had just been established, less than a year ago. Did it not mean that these disciples had only been trained and trained for less than a year? Was this not too sensational? Just by looking at these superficial phenomena, it was not difficult to imagine that Yunyang's master must be in existence with earth-shattering abilities. May I ask, is the residence of 9 Supremes presided over by your master? He Shansong asked cautiously. On the path of cultivation, apart from perseverance, caution was also a crucial component. Regarding the unknown, it was not an exaggeration to make a high evaluation. Therefore, at this moment, he Shansong subconsciously lowered his status and deliberately put himself at the level of a junior. The higher level of the residence of 9 Supremes is limited to us. My master only comes out occasionally. He's lazy by nature and doesn't like worldly affairs. He prefers to be alone in the forest. Sometimes, he can watch a flower from the moment it sprouts to the moment it blooms. Yunyang smiled. Yunyang chuckled. My master is a very eccentric person, isn't he? Following Yunyang's description, the image of a reclusive hermit seemed to appear clearly in front of everyone's eyes. He did not care about anything and everything, watching the flowers bloom and fade with a smile, observing the clouds in silence. He Shansong asked cautiously, Sect leader Yun, may I ask what your master's name is? Yunyang answered, my master's surname is Ji, but he rarely mentioned his past. I'm ashamed to say that I, as his direct disciple, don't know much. Everyone's expression turned serious. How could such an earth-shattering expert be someone without a name? The more unwilling he was to explain, the more remarkable he must be, the more extraordinary he must be. Everyone should know that I've ascended to the bound of universe from another realm, but most of you probably don't know that I've only entered the Tao recently. I've only cultivated for 3 years in the realm where I was born. It's also the 3 years that my master taught me that gave me the qualification to ascend to the bound of universe. As for when I arrived there, after I've established a sect and my master came. Yunyang continued to be confused, bragging as much as he could. Actually, I really don't know much about my master. He sighed after he finished speaking. This is all sect leader Yun's opportunity, an extraordinary opportunity. He Shansong nodded and looked at his junior sister sternly. Don't you mess things up. If Yunyang is really seduced by you, we'll have to face the wrath of a super-powerful expert. That's a giant who can cross realms at will. Just say it if you want to die, but it won't do if our sect is involved. Junior sister Yu was still rather indignant as she murmured, if I can't be the main wife, I can be a concubine. I don't mind. Yun Yang glanced sideways at junior sister Yu's voluptuous figure and coughed, chuckling dryly, not daring to continue the conversation. This woman. Does she think I'm a joke? You don't mind, but I do. The two in my family must be very concerned as well. And that elder G. I've tried my best to flatter the old man, but I know that I'm limited by my knowledge and experience, so I probably haven't described even 1/1000th of what he's capable of. I'm telling the truth. One had to admit that Yun Yang's understanding was rather accurate. His description really did not describe even 1/1000th of what Elder G was capable of. It was unknown whether it was a stroke of luck or a stroke of luck. On the other side of the galaxy far away, someone suddenly sneezed continuously, wondering what was wrong with him. Could it be that I've been targeted by some bad guys? Oh no, I have to run, or I'll be ganged up and beaten up again. After the impromptu banter came to an end, the residents of 9 Supremes had become familiar with all the sections. When the residents of 9 Supremes ascends to the middle class, we'll definitely go and congratulate you. The leaders of all the sects also gave such a promise. It was only then that Yun Yang realized that there was still a ceremony and a banquet after ascending to the middle class. Ping Zhanyue, the leader of the Phoenix Cry sect, said, Yun Yang, this time, you may not go back immediately. I'll send junior sister Gon over to the residents of 9 Supremes to take care of things first. Yun Yang was stunned. What do you mean by this, senior? Please enlighten me, senior. Ping Zhanyue smiled faintly. This is probably the most dangerous moment for the residents of 9 Supremes. I believe that all the main forces of the residents of 9 Supremes must be here to deal with the promotion battle. It's rare for them to return as soon as possible, so your headquarters, where your mountain gate is located, should be at its weakest and most vulnerable. She smiled meaningfully and said, You've defeated so many sects, I'm sure you've made many enemies. Some of them must be guarded against. The location of your mountain gate is crucial to any sect. Yun Yang said hesitantly, then, thank you. He had wanted to say that the sect had sufficient defense forces, and that Dong Qitian alone was enough to defeat the main forces here. However, on second thought, if Gan Tianyen could help, Dong Qitian could be kept a secret. It was always better to have more trump cards, and the more secretive they were, the better. It was fine as long as he knew his true strength. Why did he have to let everyone know and make them more wary? The residents of 9 Supremes had been in the limelight too much this time. Going too far was as bad as not going far enough. When the sect leaders came, they came in a hubbub, but when they left, they did not make a sound. A few of them had even given Yun Yang a suggestive look. Even with Yun Yang's intelligence, he still could not wrap his head around it. Sect leader Yun seized the opportunity. Ping Zhanyue said before she left, leaving Yun Yang even more bewildered. Seize the opportunity? What opportunity? However, the way Ping Zhanyue looked at her disciple before she left made Yun Yang sigh. Qi Lai. Luo Dajiang's rival in love. His position in Phoenix Cry sect would not be very optimistic from today onwards. But what opportunity did Ping Zhanyue mean by this? As he pondered, he heard Pu Deshuang's voice coming from the stage. Sect leader Yun, congratulations on your successful advancement. Please lead your disciples to the high platform. All the sect leaders who were still on their way out looked at Yun Yang with envy and jealousy. A few of them even sighed deeply. We've never encountered such an opportunity before, we've only heard of it in legends. Who would have thought that someone would actually achieve such an achievement today? A miracle has finally happened. It's just that we don't know what kind of benefit it is. That's right. Looks like the residence of 9 Supremes is destined to soar into the sky. If we plunder it now, shut up. Idiot, plundering the residence of 9 Supremes base is just a temporary vent of anger. As long as Yun Yang and his people are still here, the celestial luck banner will not disappear. Use your brain when you do things. That's right. The residence of 9 Supremes has no grudge against us. Why should we provoke this trouble? If we really plunder the residence of 9 Supremes base, when Yun Yang and his people's cultivation base improves by leaps and bounds because of this opportunity, it will be too late for us to do anything. All the elites of the residence of 9 Supremes are gathered here. What's the point of just destroying the base? You're right. Let's just wait and see. Don't worry. The 7 Stars sect will do it. They're the ones who have an irreconcilable grudge against the residents of 9 Supremes. Oh, Yun Yang brought his disciples to the stage. The look in Pu Deshuang's eyes was complicated, the kind of complicated that could not be more complicated. In terms of attitude, he really wanted to be on good terms with Yun Yang. After all, such a developing sect with a bright future was worthy of anyone's friendship, especially if there was no enmity or conflict of interest. However, every time Pu Deshuang wanted to do so, he felt as if his heart was bleeding. It's because of them. I've lost 4,000 pieces of supreme-grade spiritual jade. 4,000 pieces of supreme-grade spiritual jade. Oh my God. The heartache is killing me. Yun Yang felt strange about Deacon Pu's attitude. Why is this Deacon Pu looking at me with such a heartache? Not only Deacon Pu, but the other 2 deacons are also looking at me with the same heartache and inexplicable grief. Where did this come from? Could it be that the 7 Stars sect has a very deep relationship with these 3 people? Sect leader Yun. Now that you've advanced to the middle class, your future is very promising. This old man congratulates you sincerely, Pu Deshuang first said politely. Yun Yang hurried to be modest. He knew very well that any high-level martial artist was at least a few thousand years old. Don't be fooled by the appearance of a middle-aged man in his late 20s or early 30s. In reality, if any one of them revealed their true age, ordinary people would exclaim in surprise, "Immortal? Monsters?" As the saying went in Tianxian continent, a dynasty of 100 years is a family of 1,000 years. And the age of these people was even more terrifying than that of a family of 1,000 years. It was very normal for them to call themselves old men. How could they not call themselves old men when they were thousands of years old? Since the celestial luck banner came into existence, there has always been a benefit. Pu Deshuang smiled and said, "It's just that no one has reached this standard in the last 30,000 years, so no one has received this benefit." Chapter 1146. This time, it was very strange. It was just a fever, but there was no headache, no dizziness, no runny nose, and no coughing. To put it simply, there was no feeling of discomfort, just a high body temperature. However, I continued to burn like this. New Year's Eve. I wish my brothers and sisters of the Feng clan a happy new year. I hope that in the new year, your work will be smooth, your family will be happy, and everything will go well for you. I hope that you will encounter opportunities on the road, dream about winning a lottery number, get promoted, and make money. I hope that you will always be in a good mood. Looking back at 2018, I've had a rough year. I've been hoping for 2018 to pass quickly and 2019 to arrive quickly. Now, a new year had begun. Brothers and sisters, I won't say anything nice. In the new year, let's see what we do. I also wish myself the best in the new year. Everything will go smoothly. Happy New Year to I Am the Supreme. Please wait for a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 1147. At this point, Shi Wuchen and the others all showed an inexplicable surprise on their faces. The meaning behind Pu Deshuang's words was obvious. If they had not reached the standard, he would not have said this at all. Since you have said it, it proves that we have reached the standard. Yun Yang's face was unruffled and unusually calm. Please elaborate, Deacon. Pu Deshuang looked at Yun Yang with admiration and said, in the battle of the celestial luck banners, if someone can pass through all the celestial luck banners in one go and advance directly, he will be rewarded with a month's time in the demonic realm. Yun Yang frowned and said, the demonic realm? This was the first time he had heard of this term. Pu Deshuang glanced at the token in his hand. It was glowing, with endless words appearing on it. This was the token to open the fifth heaven. The demonic realm is a place of cultivation that was specially set up by the senior many years ago. Pu Deshuang said, the senior had predicted that there would be a battle between the human world and the demon race in the future, so he deliberately left a blessed place to help the younger generation improve their cultivation. However, to enter this realm, the 9 levels of the celestial luck banners as one is the first indispensable condition. Only when this condition is met can one be qualified to enter. Therefore, even we from the Sacred Heart Palace have never seen what's going on inside, Yi Futian said. There was a hint of regret in Pu Deshuang's voice. I would like to see it too. Unfortunately, I don't have such an opportunity. Only Yun Yang with the celestial luck banner was qualified to enter. Also, those who participated in the battle of the celestial luck banners of the residents of 9 Supremes could also enter if they also had the shadow of the celestial luck banner. Others, including Jiang Luoluo, could not enter together, let alone others. Pu Deshuang said enviously, Sect Leader Yun, now, as long as you connect your celestial luck banner to this token in my hand, you can enter that secret realm. Yun Yang did not immediately take out the celestial luck banner, but asked cautiously, Deacon Pu, is there any other explanation about this realm? Pu Deshuang shook his head and said, no special explanation. There is only one relevant clue about this realm, and that is, after everyone enters, everyone will be separated from the others. In other words, everyone's experience in this realm is different. Does that mean that when the 20 of us enter, we won't be able to see each other, let alone interact with each other? Yes. In this realm, everyone has their own fortuitous encounters, and they can't advance by cooperating with each other. Understood. May I ask again, Deacon Pu, is there any danger in here? Yun Yang asked. Pu Deshuang looked at Yun Yang in surprise. At this moment, he really had the thought of befriending Yun Yang. This fellow's mind was simply too clear. If it was anyone else, they would be wild with joy after knowing that they had obtained such a benefit. Even if they were experienced and prudent, in the face of such a great opportunity, their faces would at least be flushed with excitement, right? Looking at Shi Wuchen and the others who were with him, they almost jumped up. However, this fellow was completely different from the others. From the start to the end, he did not make the slightest abnormal movement. He was as calm as ever, and throughout the entire process, he had been asking about the secret realm in detail. Now, he was asking about the danger. Obviously, this fellow's rationality had reached a considerable level. I'm not sure whether it's dangerous or not, so I dare not jump to conclusions. Pu Deshuang said vaguely, however, since it's a place of trial, even if it's dangerous, it won't be too much. After all, the original intention of the senior who set up this arcane realm was to let the latecomers obtain this opportunity and advance further, so that he could defend the bound of universe against the realm of demons. Yun Yang pondered for a moment and said, can I see the words that are appearing on the token now? Pu Deshuang was even more speechless. That's not a problem. This token should have been given to you directly, but because all of you will enter the arcane realm, I'm holding it for the time being. It's considered an additional layer of protection. You can take it and look at it for as long as you want. The only thing I have to remind you is that you can only stay in the arcane realm for a month. The countdown has already begun. Every quarter of an hour you spend in the outside world is equivalent to the quarter of an hour you'll lose inside, and the quarter of an hour in the arcane realm is the golden time for cultivation. You can weigh the pros and cons yourself. Yunyang nodded faintly. Thank you for the reminder, Steward Pu. Still, he took the token over and studied it carefully. Pu Deshuang rolled his eyes. Look, look. Look at it for a month if you're so capable. Yunyang held the token and studied it carefully. Until now, the words were still appearing on it. He started from the beginning, reading each word carefully and studying it carefully. The first part of the text was the same as what Pu Deshuang had said, while the content that appeared later was basically the explanation in front. However, it was this explanation that made Yunyang's eyes brighten. As he read, he said faintly, after we enter, we'll go our separate ways. Everyone has their own destiny ahead of them. Take care of yourselves and keep moving forward. This realm is a trial of life and death. Each stage that everyone faces is set according to everyone's current limit. Every stage that you break through is an improvement. So, don't panic after you enter. No matter what situation you encounter, remember that the situation is something that you can handle yourself. As long as you don't give up and try your best, you'll be able to pass. Even if you encounter a situation where death is certain, try hard to recall the teachings of your masters and try different methods. The only way to survive is within the boundary of death. Do you understand? After you enter, remember not to panic if you're injured inside. What you need to do next is to find a safe place to hide. 6 hours will be enough for you to recover no matter how serious your injury is. However, remember not to expose yourself to the eyes of the mystical beasts inside. After you enter, Yunyang had found a total of 12 key points and explained them to his disciples patiently. Everyone, including Shi Wuchen and Luo Dejiang, looked solemn as they memorized them seriously, not slacking off at all. Every word that Yunyang said was priceless advice, a way to save their lives. Every sentence, every word, was extremely important, and could not be overlooked. After a quarter of an hour, Yunyang finally raised his head and said, "Get ready, everyone. We're going in." Beside him, Pu Deshuang rolled his eyes. What a troublemaker. Do you have to be so detailed? Most of what you said is common sense in the martial world. In spite of that, Pu Deshuang felt a little envious of the disciples of the residents of 9 Supremes. If I had such a teacher to teach me when I was learning, perhaps my achievements would be much more than what I am now, wouldn't they? Although he was impatient, Pu Deshuang also understood that the last-minute training was obviously more suitable for these young, inexperienced disciples. The things that they had memorized in this quarter of an hour were obviously very useful. Once they entered and encountered one or a few of the things Yunyang had mentioned, or if they recalled these words when they felt helpless and wanted to give up, and used these words to guide them through the difficulty safely, then, these precautions today would become an indelible mark in the hearts of these disciples for the rest of their lives. For a martial artist, such a mark in the heart would benefit them for life. Yunyang had always been able to make use of everything to help his disciples improve or to gain enlightenment. What was especially undeniable was that every time he did this, his disciples would benefit greatly from it, and they would never forget it for the rest of their lives. Such a considerate teacher, no matter which world it was, there were far too few. While Pu Deshuang was still filled with emotions, he was surprised to see a bright light in front of him. A rainbow-colored door appeared out of thin air in front of him. A ball of green light emerged from the door and enveloped the 20 disciples of the residents of 9 Supremes in an instant. The next moment, the door disappeared abruptly. It had only been a few breaths' time. Jiang Luoluo, who was initially among the disciples, was precisely left behind. She only had time to say, "De Jiang, be careful." She could no longer see anyone. Jiang Luoluo stood outside in shock, her lips pouting. I'm a part of the residents of 9 Supremes too. Why am I left behind? I'm their leader's wife. Just because I didn't fight in the Celestial Luck Banner match? It's not that I don't want to fight, I really, really want to. I'm so angry. She turned and walked toward the Phoenix Cry sect. Gan Tianyan watched her disciple come over with a smile on her face. This girl. Humph, does she think she can sneak in? How could a fortuitous encounter be obtained by forcing it? Don't pout. We're about to start the challenge. I'm afraid you'll have to fight. Gan Tianyan smiled. After this battle, I'll immediately set off with you to the residence of 9 Supremes. The mountain gate of the residence of 9 Supremes is also of utmost importance. We can't be careless. Yes, Master. Jiang Luoluo nodded. The Phoenix Cry sect waited for less than 2 hours before the thick fog above suddenly parted. A group of people walked down with faces full of anger and indignation. The General Commerce League has successfully challenged the superior class Celestial Luck Banner. The person who led them down was another deacon. Brother Pooh, you're still in charge here. This is the Jade Tripod sect that has been demoted to the middle class this time. Upon hearing this, the faces of everyone in the Jade Tripod sect turned gloomy. At this moment, Ping Zhenyue took a step forward and said in a low voice, the Phoenix Cry sect, the second-place sect of the middle-class Celestial Luck Banner, will challenge the Jade Tripod sect as usual for the position of the middle-class first seat. Deacon Pooh, please host. As soon as the words came out, it was like a thunderclap that resounded over the heads of all the members of the Jade Tripod sect. F***CK, we've just been defeated, but there are still people who won't let us go? Want to beat us when we're down? Alright, I'll vent my anger on you. I'll let you know the true strength of the original superior class Celestial Luck Banner sects. The Jade Tripod sect's leader wore a twisted smile as he said through gritted teeth, this is the rule of the Celestial Luck Banner. We, the Jade Tripod sect, will accept the challenge. Let's invite the 2 sect leaders up the stage. When Pu Deshuang said this, he looked at the empty space around him, thinking, how are the people from the residence of 9 Supremes now? What's going on in the secret realm? Should I wait here for them to come out? On the second level, where the lower-class Celestial Luck Banner sects fought, Wei Tao from the Golden Cauldron sect led his men away, swearing. The Golden Cauldron sect challenged the 7 Stars sect. 2 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. The final result was a draw, with neither victory nor defeat. However, this meant that the Golden Cauldron sect could not advance to the next level. The people from the 7 Stars sect, who were lucky enough to keep their position as the chief disciple, were sweating profusely. That was close. That was really close. I didn't expect that there would be such a strong sect competing for the position of the chief disciple after being defeated by an intermediate class sect, and they almost beat us to second place. If it wasn't for the 7 Stars formation that brought us back to a draw in the 5th formation match, our 7 Stars sect would have been defeated. They were drenched in cold sweat, and there was still a lingering fear in their hearts. As the battle between the 7 Stars sect and the Golden Cauldron sect came to an end, the battle between the lower-class Celestial Luck Banner sects came to an end. All the sects walked out of the 5-layered mountain one after another, returning to their respective sections. However, each of them wore a complicated expression as they reminisced, the bitterness in their hearts. Thinking of the residents of 9 Supremes that had appeared out of nowhere like a shooting star and swept away all the lower-class Celestial Luck Banner sects, they did not know what to feel. However, the 7 Stars sect did not go back directly. We lost to the residents of 9 Supremes in the previous battle, it was such an injustice. Wu Yu gritted his teeth in anger. That's right. Our true strength is clearly above the residents of 9 Supremes. I can't swallow this no matter what. Sect leader, let's go to the residence of 9 Supremes. We must destroy this sect that has become incoherent once it succeeds. Wu Yu's face was dark. If I don't vent this anger, I won't be able to face anyone in this life. Duan Tianchong gritted his teeth and said, I have the same intention. The residents of 9 Supremes defeated us with despicable means, not because they have genuine talent. Let's go to the residence of 9 Supremes Mountain Gate and annihilate its orthodoxy. Then, we'll wait for Yun Yang and the others to come back and we'll kill them directly. As long as we wipe out the residents of 9 Supremes, we'll be able to return to the middle class 3 years later. Most of the 7 Stars sect's people were eager to try, but there were also a few who looked doubtful. Duan Tianchong gritted his teeth and explained again, everyone, this may be our only chance to return to the middle class. If we let these people cultivate in the middle class for another 3 years, I'm afraid we really won't be able to take it back. The crowd nodded heavily, and no one had any objections. This was the truth. The residents of 9 Supremes already possessed such strength. If they had the help of the middle-class Celestial Luck Banner, they would still be in the lower class for 3 years, which was twice the difference in spiritual qi. What we're doing this time is against the martial world's morality, but for the sect and for ourselves, we can't care too much. Every man for himself will be destroyed by heaven and earth. On the path of cultivation, those who stand in our way will be killed without mercy. What sect leader said is reasonable. Everything is for the sake of our 7 Stars sect's foundation. Let's go. There's no time to lose. Let's go. The people of the 7 Stars sect flew away, majestically and rapidly. Chapter 1148. The residents of 9 Supremes. Ever since Yun Yang and the others left, everything had gone according to plan. Nothing out of the ordinary had happened. However, the disciples in the valley were all working even harder in their cultivation. Dong Qitian stood at the highest point every day, feeling the spiritual qi washing over him in a cycle. He had even secretly appointed 100 disciples to observe the specific changes in their physiques. After this period of observation, Dong Qitian finally confirmed one thing: cultivating in the residence of 9 Supremes would really change a person's innate talent as time passed, and it was a completely optimized change. The discovery shocked Dong Qitian to the core. He knew that even the superior class Celestial Luck Banner, or even the gold class Celestial Luck Banner, did not have such a nature-defying effect. If so, how did the residents of 9 Supremes do it? But on this day, it's almost been 20 days. Dong Qitian murmured to himself. The battle of the Celestial Luck Banner is almost over, isn't it? I wonder how they've fared. Dong Qitian was looking up at the sky when he suddenly sensed something. As a cultivator, he could instantly tell that the residence of 9 Supremes was about to change. A moment later, he felt a slight tremor coming from the residence of 9 Supremes beneath his feet. It was not a large tremor, at most, enough to cause ripples in a pool of clear water. An ordinary person or even an ordinary cultivator would find it difficult to sense such a feeling. However, with Dong Qitian's cultivation base, he could easily tell, but he could not pinpoint the source of the vibration. This phenomenon piqued Dong Qitian's interest. As the tremor continued, Dong Qitian was shocked to find that the spiritual qi from all directions was suddenly gathering towards the residence of 9 Supremes at an unimaginably crazy frequency. Even though Dong Qitian had lived for countless years, he had never seen or even heard of such a miraculous phenomenon. As Dong Qitian's thoughts raced, he seemed to have thought of something. He sprung up quickly and went 10,000 feet up in the air. As far as his eyes could see, the spiritual qi tide was vast and boundless. Even at such a high altitude, he could not see the end of it. Dong Qitian soared another 20,000 feet into the air, looking down at his surroundings from above. It was only then that he could clearly see the wide range of the current spiritual wave. However, because he had seen it clearly, he sucked in a cold breath instinctively. As far as the eye could see, all the spiritual qi within a 6,000 miles radius was gathering towards the residence of 9 Supremes. Wave after wave of seemingly substantial azure spiritual qi surged over without any signs of stopping. Looking down from the sky, the residence of 9 Supremes was already surrounded by an ocean of spiritual qi, billowing with the wind. In this world, the first wave of spiritual qi had already entered the residence of 9 Supremes, and there were still countless waves to follow, endless and endless. The gears in Dong Qitian's head spun as he shifted his attention to the situation around the residence of 9 Supremes. He saw that the dozens of hills within a 1,000-mile radius were showing signs of withering. Ordinary people might not know what this meant, but Dong Qitian knew very well that this sign meant that all the life force within this range was being drained bit by bit until the life force was completely gone and there was no more life force. With such an endless stream of spiritual qi, the aura grew stronger and stronger, unstoppable. The residence of 9 Supremes, which was located at the gathering point of the surrounding spiritual qi, had turned into an endless black hole, absorbing the spiritual qi from all directions like a whale swallowing the sea, as if it would never be satisfied. Has the celestial luck banner been obtained? Dong Qitian was a little dumbfounded. But even if it's obtained, it can't create such a huge commotion, can it? Even if the residence of 9 Supremes' original spiritual qi had already far surpassed that of ordinary lower-class celestial luck banner sects, it's still within expectations that the spiritual qi would increase by 4 times now that it has obtained the lower-class celestial luck banner. However, such a scale and such a shocking change is simply too extraordinary. Swoosh, 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 the fluctuation of the spiritual qi wave continued to increase, gradually emitting a violent howl and whine. It was getting more and more intense. The spiritual qi had only entered quietly in the beginning, but now, it was like the Milky Way was pouring in. The momentum was appalling and soul-stirring. At this moment, another beam of green light flashed in midair. Boom! A green celestial luck banner flew swiftly from the distant horizon and landed at the highest point of the residence of 9 Supreme Station. Then, it stopped moving, allowing the torrential spiritual qi storm to come and go. The green celestial luck banner remained motionless. Only the flag, which was dozens of feet wide, fluttered in the wind and rattled. As the green celestial luck banner landed, the speed of the spiritual qi pouring in increased. It was already extremely fast, but now, it had to be added as it flew into the residence of 9 Supremes like streaks of green dragons. Now, the spiritual energy that was pouring in was no longer solid, but pure and solid. Dong Qitian was completely dumbfounded by the sudden turn of events. He was utterly dumbfounded. No, this is clearly a phenomenon that can only be caused by a middle-class celestial luck banner. But isn't their target the lower-class celestial luck banner this time? How did it become a middle-class one? This doesn't make sense. Could it be that this group of kids soared to middle class in one go after they went there? But, how is this possible? Whether it's Yun Yang, Shi Wuchen, and the others' abilities or the abilities of their disciples, advancing to lower-class celestial luck banner is basically the limit. At most, they can only go to the lower-class intermediate class, and there's no possibility of further advancement. It's wishful thinking to even make it to the top 3 of the lower class, let alone successfully break through to the middle class. Dong Qitian was very confident in this judgment. In his opinion, the residents of 9 Supreme's expedition this time would definitely obtain the lower-class celestial luck banner. Moreover, the lower-class celestial luck banner would not be the last place. According to his prediction, the residents of 9 Supremes could make it to the middle class of the lower-class celestial luck banner, around 4th or 5th place. It was impossible for them to touch the top 3. After all, the promotion of the Celestial Luck Banner required 5 victories to be qualified to continue challenging. Although the Residence of 9 Supremes' current foundation was quite impressive, reaching this point was really the limit. Any of the top 3 lower-class Celestial Luck Banner sects was a solid force, and the Residence of 9 Supremes was not enough to keep them in check. Not to mention becoming a lower-class chief disciple, it was an unrealistic dream to fight for a middle-class Celestial Luck Banner and take down the last place of a middle-class sect. But now, the reality was that this absolutely impossible was delivered to them with great fanfare. Dong Qitian could only smile bitterly as he watched the abundant spiritual qi pouring in like a great river flowing into the sea. But after smiling bitterly, a strong sense of excitement and indescribable emotion rose from the bottom of his heart. Dong Qitian knew one thing very well: he had actually witnessed a miracle. The original concentration of spiritual qi in the Residence of 9 Supremes had far surpassed that of the lower-class Celestial Luck Banner. If the spiritual energy density of a sect with a lower-class Celestial Luck Banner was 4 times higher than that of an ordinary realm, then the spiritual energy density of a sect with a lower-class Celestial Luck Banner would be 4 times higher than that of an ordinary realm. Then, the spiritual qi atmosphere in the Residence of 9 Supremes would be at least 6 times stronger. Now that the Residence of 9 Supremes had been directly upgraded to a middle-class Celestial Luck Banner sect, its spiritual qi density had been increased by 4 times and the basic providence increased by 2 times on top of the original foundation. In other words, the atmosphere had been increased by 6 times out of thin air. Such an increase, the spiritual qi in the Residence of 9 Supremes was comparable to the spiritual qi density of a sect that was about to become an upper-class Celestial Luck Banner sect. A small sect that had just ascended to the ranks of middle-class Celestial Luck Banner sects had the same benefits as upper-class Celestial Luck Banner sections. What did this mean? Moreover, in Dong Qitian's opinion, what the Residence of 9 Supremes possessed was far more than what he could see. There was also a strange force in the Residence of 9 Supremes. This unique force was different from ordinary spiritual qi. It possessed a mystical effect that spiritual qi could not achieve. It could subtly change a person's aptitude. Even the Sacred Heart Palace did not possess such an effect that was beyond common knowledge. Even the East Celestial Palace, which was superior to the Sacred Heart Palace, did not possess it. This was a superpower that had never been seen since ancient times. In other words, the Residence of 9 Supremes possessed a trump card that was unique in the world. Although such a sect was only a middle-class sect now, its future was already glorious and magnificent. As long as it did not fall, the height it could reach in the future was a height that even Dong Qitian dared not imagine. The Sacred Heart Palace? The East Celestial Palace? At the very least, Dong Qitian could now affirm that a sect with an upper-class Celestial Luck Banner would not be the end of the Residence of 9 Supremes. Could it be that I've been imprisoned for 4,000 years and now that I'm released, I'm here to witness the birth of this legend? This is the so-called legend that goes down in history. Dong Qitian mumbled to himself. However, the next moment, looking at the spiritual qi of heaven and earth that was still surging into the Residence of 9 Supremes like a green dragon, Dong Qitian suddenly remembered what he had overlooked, and his expression changed drastically. **T. As the thought flashed through his mind, Dong Qitian's body blurred and dashed into the Residence of 9 Supremes as if he had crossed the void. Everything else aside, Dong Qitian's skill alone was enough to stun all the people in the middle-class Celestial Luck Banner sections. It was a brilliant move that could move 10,000 miles in an instant. However, Dong Qitian was not flaunting his skill. It was because of the urgency of the situation. The moment he rushed back to the Residence of 9 Supremes, the situation was as he had predicted. More than a quarter of the people in the Residence of 9 Supremes looked like they were struggling in pain. Their faces were flushed and their bodies were bloated. Of course, there were also many who had built a solid foundation in the path of martial arts. They were quietly sitting cross-legged to cultivate and absorb spiritual qi. Even with Dong Qitian's vast knowledge and steady state of mind, he was at a loss for what to do when he saw the situation unfolding before him. "Senior, what should we do?" Ping Xiaoyi and Guanuanyang flew over, looking anxious. "Senior Dong, what's going on?" Dong Qitian heaved a long sigh. "This is... Yun Yang's group has succeeded in seizing the Celestial Luck Banner, and what they've obtained isn't just the established lower-class Celestial Luck Banner but the higher-class middle-class Celestial Luck Banner. In other words, the residence of 9 Supremes has become a middle-class sect now. That's why there's such a massive influx of spiritual qi. This is the benefit of a Celestial Luck Banner sect. It's changing the spiritual qi environment for the residents of 9 Supremes." Ping Xiaoyi and Guanuanyang had expected this, but they were still shocked. "But isn't the extent of the spiritual qi influx a little too much? There are too many people in our sect who can't withstand such an influx of spiritual qi." Dong Qitian chuckled humorlessly. "Speaking of this, I've probably guessed wrongly. I didn't expect Yun Yang's group to actually obtain the middle-class Celestial Luck Banner, causing such a drastic change. However, even I can't do anything about the situation now." Ping Xiaoyi's expression changed. "Even Senior can't do anything about it? Can't we just give it a try?" Dong Qitian looked awkward. "If there were only a handful of people, or even a dozen of them, I could still try and guide the flow of spiritual qi. However, there are so many people who are being infused with spiritual qi now. There's no telling who to save or not to save. It's better to let them bear it themselves and guide themselves. If they can get through this crisis eventually, it'll be a great benefit to their mental state and cultivation journey. It's best for them to face this opportunity themselves." Ping Xiaoyi and Guanuanyang were stunned. Deal with it themselves and endure it? This was obviously a gamble for those who were being infused with spiritual qi. Based on the current situation, would there not be a lot of people dying? Dong Qitian said in a low voice, "The root cause of the current situation is that the density of spiritual qi is too thick. After going through the natural cleansing, they'll be reborn and enter the path of cultivation. These people are the fated ones. No matter what they cultivate in the future, they'll achieve twice the result with half the effort and become the cream of the crop. However, those who can't withstand such a massive amount of spiritual qi," Dong Qitian frowned as he considered his words. "'Cause what?" both of them asked anxiously. "'Cause their meridians to rupture and their dantian to be burnt. It's a break in the path of cultivation, returning to the mundane world," Dong Qitian said solemnly. "Returning to the mundane world. Senior, do you mean that they can no longer cultivate and can only be ordinary people?" Guanuanyang pressed. "It's better if it's only to return to the mundane world and become ordinary people. Those who can't withstand the spiritual qi will most likely self-destruct on the spot. After all, with the current strength of the spiritual qi, this outcome is already a foregone conclusion. It's hard to change it with any external force. It's futile to try and force it." Dong Qitian said, "There are too many that can't withstand it now. There's only the 3 of us. How can we take care of it all? What we should be more concerned about now is the extent of the spiritual qi that's infused into the residence of 9 Supremes. This spiritual qi is the foundation of the residence of 9 Supremes' future. We can't open the mountain guarding formation and let it disperse." Ping Xiaoyi's eyes shone. "Senior, do you mean that if the formation is opened, the concentration of the spiritual qi in the residence of 9 Supremes will be greatly reduced and the disciples will be relieved?" Guanuanyang said, "That's right. As long as the people are still here, nothing matters. I agree with opening the mountain guarding formation to disperse the excessive spiritual qi." Dong Qitian chuckled humorlessly again. "You're thinking too simply. Even if the mountain guarding formation is opened now, the spiritual qi won't disperse. The reason the spiritual qi is gathered here is mainly because of the celestial luck banner at the highest point of the residence of 9 supremes. As long as the celestial luck banner is still there, it can't be uprooted nor destroyed. Opening the mountain guarding formation is no better than quenching one's thirst with poison. It's futile. Dong Qitian closed his eyes and said faintly, "Now, we can only depend on each person's own fortune. If we can make it through, we'll have this opportunity and be reborn. If we can't, we'll be reduced to ashes. Of course, it's also possible that we'll have to quit the path of martial arts. This isn't something that can be changed by a mere human." Ping Xiaoyi and Guo Nuanyang looked even worse as the latter murmured, "Didn't Senior say that we can still save a dozen people if we try our best? With the 2 of us, we should be able to save more people," Dong Qitian said calmly. "Since the beginning of time, there's a saying that goes like this: there's no sin one can't endure, there's only blessings one can't enjoy. And the origin of this saying is probably this kind of situation. No matter how difficult and painful the situation is, one can get through it as long as they grit their teeth and don't give up. Even if they can't, they can still take a breather. However, once the fortune is too great, many will die because they can't take it. This is life." Dong Qitian said faintly, "A person's fate is predetermined." You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.